Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's show was recorded on January the 28th, 2018. I'm your host, Gaming Psychologist, and with me, as always, the beauty to my beast,
Caffeine Rage.
On today's show, we're going to be discussing the January Game Club, which is The Wolf Among Us. We will be letting you know what our next Game Club game is going to be. We will have our weekly community corner, and if there's enough time, we're going to throw a Steam Discovery queue on there at the end. You went to say something, but I just kept talking.
I was about to say, I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Well, it was between that or Big Sea Wolf, which...
Yeah, that doesn't sound right either.
Yeah, so definitely beauty to my beast. You can be the beast if you want, and I'll be the beauty. That's fine.
Well, we both know that's not true either.
That is very fair. That is very, very fair.
So I would say more the Tweedledee to your Tweedledum.
Yeah, that would work. That would work, but it's too late now. It's too late now. We're carrying on with what I said before. I could fix it in post, but where's the fun in that? So, listeners, as you may have noticed, we're not doing games we played or any news topics because The Wolf Among Us is it's called a very long game.
It's called a big fucking game.
Yeah, so we're pretty confident we're going to spend a long time going through that, just like how we did with Life is Strange. And also, you also may notice that today's date is not a Tuesday, but instead a Sunday. And due to reasons, we had to change the recording date. So we'll go ahead and say it now. It was posted on Twitter, and we'll say it again later. Due to the fact that we're having to record a few days early, if you want to still do something for Wolf Among Us and send it in, we'll be sure and play it and talk about it on the show next week so that you can participate.
Why would they
shameless self-promotion. If you don't have The Wolf Among Us and don't want to buy it, I've recorded my entire playthrough and put it on my YouTube channel. And I tweeted about it a couple of times, and I'll tweet about it again. So if you want to go watch my playthrough and then comment about the game from that, you can do so over at Gaming Psychologist on YouTube. Ding!
Or you just go to Gaming with Caffeine Rage and I'll kill you in RimWorld.
That works too. Also, ding!
I can't promise that all your organs will be buried with you, but I'll try.
Yep. So, obviously, we're going to go through the entire game of Wolf Among Us. There will be many spoilers, but we're going to have some general talk that is spoiler-free, or at least as spoiler-free as possible. In the show notes, there will be a time marking when we swap to spoilers, so if you want to go play Wolf Among Us and then come back and listen to it, you won't have any of the main plot or anything spoiled. So, I don't know how long that's going to take us to get there, but we'll get there when we get there.
And we're also going to be comparing to another story-heavy game that we've done in the past.
Yes, Life is Strange. So, we'll try and be as spoiler-free about Life is Strange 2 during this general discussion, and then later, when we're comparing more specific things, we will also be spoilery about Life is Strange. So, there you go. You ready to get started?
Well, why are you asking me that? Because we're recording. Of course I am.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, are you ready to get started talking about Game Club?
Oh, alright.
And speaking of Game Club, for any listeners who saw Wolf Among Us and thought, hey, I'll go listen to this podcast, what is Game Club, Rage?
The Game Club is when we converge our tastes and try to play the same game for once, because we often play completely different things and have very different tastes. And we have an in-depth discussion about the said game at the end of the month.
Indeed. And of course, this Game Club game was The Wolf Among Us, a story game, an episodic game by Telltale. Rage, right off the bat, how much experience do you have with what we're going to call modern Telltale?
This was my technically third modern Telltale game with a lot of classic and one published game. I actually have a fair amount of Telltale experience.
What's the published game? You told it to me earlier.
Hector Badge of Carnage, which, I'll be perfectly honest, is not particularly good.
Hector Badge of Carnage, okay.
Yeah, it's essentially take Family Guy, take away all the random references, and make Peter a cop. That's the easiest way I could describe it.
Okay.
If it's your type of humor, it's all right. But it just, well, for one, I was having all sorts of technical issues with it to begin with, and it was just not clicking for me, if you pardon the turn of phrase.
Hey-oh.
Because it is a point-and-click adventure. It's not the Telltale style of storytelling.
The modern Telltale style?
Yeah, so it's a little bit different there.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just, it's very rough, and the humor just wasn't doing it for me, so yeah, I just, left it. And for the modern Telltale, and I'll go into classic Telltale as well, I have The Wolf Among Us, well, obviously.
Right.
Most of the first season of The Walking Dead, because I gotta be perfectly honest, I did not care for The Walking Dead. Maybe it's just, I'm a gamer, so zombies yawn.
Yeah,
and I have no interest in The Walking Dead whatsoever.
Yeah, I think to be invested in the Walking Dead Telltale game, you have to also be invested in either the comic book or the show. It diverges from both of those and tells its own story.
Well, it's a completely separate story, is it? With a couple references, and that's about it. Mostly,
yeah, there's a couple references and a couple of cameos.
Yeah, it's mostly to prevent spoilers for, well, okay, this is retelling the comic. I know what's going to happen. I don't have to buy this game. It doesn't do that. And the other barn, even though this is kind of skirting the line, Back to the Future.
Okay.
And you completely forgot about Back to the Future.
I did. I actually have Back to the Future, the Telltale Back to the Future on Xbox. It was one of the quote-unquote free games a few months ago, but I haven't played it.
I would say it's pretty good. It's definitely for fans of the movie series, especially the entire series and not just the first, because it does callbacks to the other two as well. And it's technically the fourth story, but not really. But also has a pretty weak ending. I won't spoil what it is, but yeah.
Gotcha.
And then when we go to classic Telltale, I have the Sam & Max series, all of it. The third season on Steam and the first two through Telltale directly. Tales of Monkey Island, which I played the first for the first Monkey Island, the non-Telltale version. I keep meaning to go back and play now that I think about it. The two puzzle agent games, which is kind of getting away from point and click adventure to begin with a little like point and click in there, but mostly a puzzle game. And then Poker Night at the Inventory 1 and 2.
Yep. Okay.
So a little bit of experience with Telltale.
Yeah, for me, for classic Telltale, I've played Sam & Max. I haven't played all of it. I've only played the first Sam & Max.
Only the first season. I would say it's kind of a toss-up for me because Season 3 is starting to, get into more modern Telltale. But Season 2, I would say, is the stronger of the, two more hardcore point-and-click adventures. And hardcore and, massive sarcasm quotes. Because if you want to talk hardcore point-and-click, old school Sierra.
Yeah. But I played the first Sam & Max. I've played Poker Night at the Inventory 1 and 2. I've played the first Monkey Island. And I think that's it from classic Telltale. I'm not a big fan of the old school point-and-click games. Some of them I enjoy, like I enjoy the Myst series and a few others, but not the biggest fan of a lot of that old point-and-click stuff. Of modern Telltale, I've played The Walking Dead Season 1, 400 Days, which was their sort of mini-sode that ties Walking Dead Season 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, I do have 100 Days, I just never played it.
I've played Walking Dead Season 2. I've played The Wolf Among Us before, and then obviously again for this. I've played Tales from the Borderlands. I've played their Game of Thrones series, and then the Jurassic Park Telltale game that they did. I think it's just called Jurassic Park the Game.
The movie,
and then
the game.
Yeah. And then I have interest in the Guardians of the Galaxy Telltale game because I'm a massive fan of the comics and then also the Marvel Cinematic Universe version. And I'm interested in the Minecraft game, or the Minecraft Telltale game, but I just have never spent money on it because, I don't know, reasons.
Because it's Minecraft.
I've got a really big history, or a larger history with the more modern Telltale games. And I have to say that The Wolf Among Us is one of the top 2 or 3. Tales from the Borderlands is extremely good. Their art style fits the Borderlands art style anyways, so it looks seamless. And also, the biggest problem with Borderlands, in my view, is that there's not really a good or coherent story. I mean, there's like a basic story and a few fun characters sometimes to get you through.
And then there's internet memes.
Yeah, but the Tales from the Borderlands series, I mean, that world is ripe for storytelling, and the story that they tell really fits the world. So, excellent storytelling, great theme, and the art style works nicely. And then Wolf Among Us is up there, and I would need to go back and play Tales from the Borderlands again, so they're both recent in my mind to be able to tell you. I really like The Walking Dead as well, Season 1, because I was invested in the show and the comic book. And it was one of the first games that really made me cry. Like, the very end, one of the last choices you have to make at the end of the game made me cry. And I won't spoil that, but I think most people have probably played The Walking Dead Season 1. So, I don't think it's, like, the best, but since it was, like, my introduction to modern Telltale, it kind of has, like, a special place in my heart. Because it pulled on my heartstrings.
Mm-hmm.
I've got no interest in their Batman game. I've heard it's fine, but I'm not really a big Batman fan.
I've heard it's a technical mess, at least the first season. The second season sounds like it's doing better, but it's still very rough running.
Okay. But, yeah, out of all the modern Telltale games, this is one of the top 2. It's between Wolf Among Us and Tales from the Borderlands for me, with what I've played.
Well, for me, I would say it's squarely in the top 3.
You're including Classic as well?
No, I was saying for modern Telltale. I was making a joke.
Oh, okay. Well, I knew it was either you were including Classic or you were making a joke. One of the two. I guess wrong.
You were wrong!
So, yeah, that's our experience with Telltale. Just very generally, you were telling me you had a couple of issues with the game itself. So very generally, what did you think about The Wolf Among Us?
Well, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I noticed at least a couple times in every episode there was some sort of oddball animation glitch. It was a lot of blink and you miss it, just animation not quite going seamlessly from one, not canon animation, but sequence to the next. A good example is during episode 2, there was a sequence where Big B was doing something, and then he quickly snapped to the neutral pose, your traditional, arms stretched straight out, legs together.
The T-pose?
Yeah, the T-pose, which is typically how 3D balls are built, and how animation is built from. He snapped to that for a split second, and then he went to the next animation. It was one of those blink and you miss it, and then once I saw that, I started noticing pop up several times. I think I saw it in the first episode, but it was one of those I was blinking at the time, so I missed it.
Right.
But then I just kept seeing it's like, oh, yeah, this is a Telltale game, all right.
Yeah, I did not experience that issue. My biggest issue came with load times and occasional freezing, although I'm 99% sure that was because I was also recording the game. I had it installed on my hard drive, my hard disk, initially, but I moved the install file to my SSD, and once I did that, I stopped having that problem. So I'm pretty sure it was just recording. I mean, Telltale Games, the engine that they use is very old and has a lot of problems. They've been using this engine, I'm pretty sure, definitely since The Walking Dead. I think they were using it when they did Jurassic Park as well.
I think Sam & Max 3 had this engine. It's just they were still doing point and click at the time.
Okay.
So it's pretty ancient at this point, and it's just... Yeah, and also some of the QuickTime events, particularly having to hammer Q if you're doing mouse and keyboard, is just an odd button to hit.
Yeah. The first time I played through, I did use keyboard and mouse. But when I did play through this time, I remembered how bad it was to try and do some of those QuickTime events, so I used a controller.
Yeah, I swapped to controller about episode 3, but even then, there was also this other thing that fucking annoyed me, and this was both on mouse and gamepad, was that the cursor was static in the world, but Big B moved around, so the cursor kept moving around.
There was an option that changes that.
There was? I didn't see that then, because I looked at the options, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, there's a cursor option that changes the way it behaves.
Oh,
I actually prefer the cursor to stay static, just because I'm weird about stuff like that, I guess. But there is an option that changes it where it moves. Oh.
Okay, so that was just an option I didn't see, and the default is just dumb.
Yeah, the default is that it stays still, but you can change it to where that it moves. I had other issues with the controls, like trying to. I wanted to remap a couple of the buttons, but you can't do that.
Well, technically I could, but that's because of how I'm playing it. I would also say another technical qualm is that if I did not have my controller on at start, it would not do a hot swap.
I was going to ask, since you use a PlayStation controller, if it did that. I tried it with both the Steam controller and the Xbox controller, or my Xbox controller, and yeah, if you don't have the controller turned on at start, it won't swap over.
But the thing is,
if the controller is turned on, it will.
Yeah, which is good, because otherwise I would have to switch to my trackpadless mode on the gamepad, because I did hit it a couple of times and it would swap the things, but yeah. But because I'm using a DualShock 4, I could rebind because I'm running DualShock for Windows.
Yeah.
And technically the game sees my DualShock as an Xbox 360 controller.
Yeah. I could have rebound with the Steam controller if I wanted to, but by that point I was already in like episode 3 before I remembered that I could do that. And I was like, nah, it's fine. I'll just keep playing. I've already gotten used to it anyways.
Yeah, we play with odd controllers, don't we?
Yeah. The game doesn't seem to care, though, whether or not you hit left trigger or right trigger whenever it tells you to hit a trigger. So, I wanted all the buttons to be on the face buttons, though.
Yeah, I noticed that it didn't really seem to care with the triggers, and also it was very generous on just where it picked up if you were moving a reticule.
Yeah, which I think that's the right choice to make with these types of games.
I never technically failed a quick time. There's a couple that you have to fail for story to progress. But, it's not technically a fail.
Yeah, there's a couple that basically forces you to fail.
Which, it's kind of nice for a story, It's showing that... I'm kind of on two minds about this, because, yes, it's showing that, the situation is out of control for Big B, but at the same time, which Big B is the big bad wolf in this case.
Which I love the naming convention for that. Big B Wolf.
But it showed that things were out of control, and but you're still fighting. But at the same time, why had that be a quick time event in the first place?
Right. I prefer it to be the quick time event that you can't win. There's very little gameplay in these games. I mean, you're making what to say, or you're deciding what to say. But that's, basically just to choose your own adventure book. So the little gameplay that you get, I like how they use that sometimes to make you feel a certain way during the story.
Yeah, this is a lot more interactive story than what Life is Strange was.
Yeah, I can't talk about it without getting into spoilers. When we get there, we'll talk about it. But whenever you have to face who in the alley,
all right,
and you can't win that quick time event. The way that makes you feel, like you struggle so hard, and like the ring almost fills up, and then like it drops back down. You're like, if I go faster and harder, it'll make it. Just the way that makes you feel. I like.
I was also still on keyboard at the time.
Yeah, that's a little bit rougher. Banging your keyboard, you're gonna break your keys. You're gonna go blind.
Q. Pretty much. Okay, I did have a Picard moment whenever that first QuickTime came up with Q. It's like, Q!
So, how does this game compare to Life is Strange for you? Better, worse, and why?
I would say
spoiler-free as possible.
It's closer than I really expected going into it, because Telltale has had a reputation of pretty good to really good starts and kind of petering out towards the end. I would say The Wolf Among Us is pretty strong all the way through, and on that respect, it really beats Life is Strange, because Life is Strange kind of lost its momentum about halfway to 2/3 of the way through episode 4, and episode 5 just felt like it was coasting towards an end. So overall consistency of the story, I would say that it beats Life is Strange. Tone-wise, there are two. It's comparing apples and oranges here, so we really can't compare them. Life is Strange is a lot stronger on its gameplay, and I would say its choices feels like they matter a lot more overall. There are a couple choices similar to how Life is Strange has them, but they feel more sparse, and a lot of times it's the telltale problem of they'll remember that. Look, didn't really fucking matter, now did it?
Yeah, half the time the stuff they remember doesn't matter.
Although
occasionally they do something cute to play with that.
Yeah, it's one thing. Yeah, there was one fourth wall breaking moment that we'll talk about later that I thought was just hilarious.
Okay.
But yeah, it was. They're both very strong games. I think tone-wise, it really depends on what you're looking for, because The Wolf Among Us is a lot of a darker story. And Life is Strange, it starts off a lot more hopeful and turns darker.
Yeah.
So they're two, well, very different beasts.
Hi-yo.
But I would say they're both very strong.
When it comes to just straight up story versus story, Life is Strange is miles ahead of Wolf Among Us. Not to say that The Wolf Among Us is bad. It's one of the best Telltale games, as I just said a few minutes ago. But they're like you said, apples to oranges. They're trying to do two very different things. And Life is Strange focuses on a very, very small story that at the end it really expands. But in general, for me, The Life is Strange is a better story. But when it comes to experience, I think Wolf Among Us, for me, is a better experience, because Telltale, they do have a lot more experience at this sort of thing.
I would say it's because it's more consistent, really. At least to me.
Yeah, it's that, and there's even though it feels like in Life is Strange your choices matter more, it feels like you have more to do in Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, I would.
Also, I think Wolf Among Us is a tighter story too. Life is Strange was like, what, 12 hours long? 10 hours
something
long?
Like that. It was a longer story overall, but I don't think it made it a better story. I think it made it a bit weaker.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Wolf Among Us was a much tighter story. That, particularly, like you said, even though I liked Chapter 5 and Life is Strange better than you, Chapter 5 was way too long and meandering overall.
I think they should have dropped about half of Chapter 5 and combined Chapter 5 and 4 and made it a 4-chapter story. It would have made it a lot tighter of a game. Or a lot tighter of a story, I should say.
Yeah, Wolf Among Us, on the other hand, since this is my second playthrough, I don't know if I went through any faster than you, but it took me about 7 hours to play through Wolf Among Us. 7.5.
I'm not sure how long it took. Let me pop over to Steam and I'll tell you, because there's a little bit of static. Stop hitting your microphone. Let's see. I did 8.4, but I think I left it on at one point.
Okay, so 7 to 8 hours, we'll say.
Yeah, let's just call it about 8-ish, because there was also a couple sections that replayed the first scene of an episode to see, what would happen if I did this? Because you can't do that. The Life is Strange just rewind.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, The Wolf Among Us was a tighter story, and I think overall a better gameplay experience. But I did prefer Life is Strange's storytelling. But I mean, they're apples to oranges.
I would say Life is Strange probably is a lot more relatable to the general player. The Wolf Among Us is a bit more of a niche title.
Right. Which, speaking of what Wolf Among Us is, it's a prequel to the Fables comic book series.
Yeah, which I've been meaning to read, but I've never gotten around to. So, particular story beats were not spoiled to me by the characters appearing in the comic, which happens far after. So, I did. It's actually better not to read the comic.
Yeah, you should play this first and then read the comics. I've read some of the comic, but I've not read the entire series.
The entire series is fucking long, and it's still ongoing, isn't it?
Honestly, I don't know. Let's do a quick Google search. Let's see. Looks like it ended in July of 2015 was its last issue.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it had 150 issues. And I've read probably up through issue 10.
So, a very small portion.
Right. Not even 10%.
It's a very, very long story.
Yeah. But, I mean, the comics are good. You know, if you don't like comics, you won't like it. But if you do like comics, it's a really good, well-put-together story. The art is gorgeous.
Yeah, which Telltale really nailed, that comic book feel.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's similar to Borderlands, really. Sorta.
Yeah.
Not as harder brushstrokes, but still, the hard shadows and the overall coloring was done really well.
Yeah.
One other technical qualm I noticed, and it's the same problem I had with Life is Strange, was there was a couple times that characters would talk and lips wouldn't move.
I don't remember having that problem, although sometimes the lip syncing was wrong.
Yeah, really wrong.
So,
and I actually had one character in episode 5 that had a voiced line and did not fucking say it. Good thing I had the subtitles on.
Yeah, I never play any of these games without subtitles. I don't remember that happening. It might have. It also could have been that it was something that didn't go through because we had different choices at that point. So, let's see, I'm trying to think. Are there any more general discussions to have before moving towards spoilers? I do have one final question, but...
Alright, go for it.
Okay, just the final thought that I have is, before we get into spoilers, if someone has not played this game, would you recommend it to them?
Yes.
As would I.
I would say, well, for me, it's the strongest of the modern Telltales that I played.
Yeah.
If I had to list my modern Telltales, it would be The Wolf Among Us, Back to the Future, and The Walking Dead. But then again, I didn't really like The Walking Dead. And I'm a fan of the Back to the Future series.
Right. Yeah, I also would just give this a solid, hard recommend. The only reason I would say to not play it is if you just generally don't like Telltale games, or this style of game.
Or you think having fairy tale characters is a bit schlocky.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of room for schlock in this, but there's not really very much schlock.
Yeah, there's a little bit here and there, but it's done really well. The characters are kind of, sort of, their fairy tale. This is the Grimm fairy tales, not Disney. I mean, hell, Disney would have had a fucking aneurysm with episode 2.
Yeah.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And
we'll get to that.
Exactly.
But they're mirroring the fairy tales, but then they go off and do their own thing, and they're their own characters. And since they've lived for centuries, in most cases, they have evolved to some degree.
Yeah, it's a very pulpy noir type of story.
Which made me absolutely love it. I love these type of stories. But then again, I listen to old detective radio shows, so if I hated this, there's something wrong.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that's about as far as we can go without starting to spoil things. So, this is the spoiler warning. From here on out, we're going to be going through the story and just speaking our minds. So, hard spoilers after this point. Alright, so, Chapter 1. What was Chapter 1 called?
I didn't even grab the episode names.
I went and got all of them just because of my YouTube playlist, and it's Wolf Among Us Episode 1, whatever.
That's not a very good name.
Chapter 1 is called Faith.
Faith.
Or Episode 1, I should say. Each episode has multiple chapters in it.
Yeah, each one has 5 chapters?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
I think it's 5, and so for 25 chapters overall. And I have to say, maybe I should have done this in the general, but the episodes, they're not short, but they feel a lot shorter than what they all actually are, because they're produced so tightly.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like they really drug on at all. And
no, there was only one episode that felt like it was longer. I believe it was episode
2 is the one I felt like...
Yeah, mostly because
went on for a while.
Of the cliffhanger from episode 1 having to be resolved. But yeah, I do agree with that. But let's focus on episode 1 first.
Sure.
So you play as Big B Wolf, the big bad wolf, who is the sheriff of Fabletown. Because, well, why else? Who else would do it, right?
Yeah.
Since I haven't read the comics, I have no idea why the hell the big bad wolf was put in this as the sheriff, other than people feared him.
He strikes a deal with, I believe it's Snow White. Like he wants to come over, and they say, you know, I'm super heavy paraphrasing here, but they're like, okay, if you want to come away from the Fable land and to our new home, you can't go to the farm, which is where all of the
because
fables
people
go.
would be way too scared of such a fucking giant wolf.
Right, and they were like, okay, so if we give you the ability to turn into a human at will,
Yeah,
then you have to work for us.
Yeah, they basically
And
made
he
him
agrees.
a werewolf wolf.
Yeah, as you go through the game, there's various stages of his transformation, ultimately ending in him being the big bad wolf.
Well,
which is pretty cool.
No, they actually said that they infected him with being a werewolf.
Yeah, they...
in the Book of Fables.
Yeah.
As you progress through the game, you're given little extra lore bits about various things. And one of them was that Big B's able to turn into a human because he's been infected with leprosy. So he's essentially a werewolf wolf.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, that's what I was saying. They gave him the power to... I mean, I didn't go fully into it. It's not... They cut him with some kind of dagger.
yeah, that was infected with it. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. But, I mean, basically in the comics, it's, you know, okay, if you're going to come over here, then you have to, you know, we have to have assurances that you're going to be good, and so you'll work for us. And he was the perfect person to be the sheriff, because none of the upper class people, which are the ones who live in
The woodland?
wanted to do it. So they were like, you can come here, you can live here, but you have to be the sheriff.
You get
And
the
he basically
shitty
was like,
small
okay.
apartment.
Yeah. But he agrees, because he doesn't want to get left in Fable World, which...
Well, according to
something
the,
bad...
Well, actually, according to the Book of Fables, he escaped the Fable World and was basically rampaging around Europe when Snow found him.
Yeah.
So, he did leave the Fable World. And, yeah, something bad happened that basically chased every Fable out, but they never say what it is in the game.
Yeah, if they say it in the comics, either I don't remember it, or it's not covered in the first 10 issues.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's much later, or, it's just a thing happened.
Yeah, you get the sense that
blame
it's some
the
kind of,
internet.
like, apocalyptic event.
Well, let's just blame the internet.
Yeah. It's the internet's fault.
But you play the Big Bad Wolf, and essentially the major characters, at least in the first episode, are Snow White, Ichabod Crane, the Woodsman. Those are the major ones that are kind of throughout the entire story, unless I'm missing one. Bluebeard.
Faith, technically... Bluebeard's only mentioned in the first one, though. He doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Faith, but she gets murdered. She's like the inciting event for the whole story. And she's there for the first, 10, 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. And then, she's obviously constantly referenced throughout the rest of the game.
Mr. Toad.
She's the inciting event. Mr. Toad, yep.
Love Mr. Toad.
I do too. Although, I also kind of don't like him because he's a dick to his son.
Yeah.
Like, he's a fun character, and then you find out he's a dick to his son, and I'm like, oh, you bastard.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he's just trying to get by.
I think that the first episode is actually very light on characters. Colin.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of... Yeah, Colin.
But he's a
one
side
of the three
character.
little pigs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tweedledee and Dum are introduced in episode 1,
mm-hmm.
but they're only there briefly. They feature more heavily in later episodes.
Yeah, I think Colin is the one that made his house out of straw.
Yeah. There's Grindel. He shows up throughout the whole thing, and Holly. Grindel is...
Grindel?
Yeah, Grindel. And Holly is one of the trolls under the bridge. They went after 3 Billy Goats Gruff. Mm-hmm. Beauty and the Beast are both briefly in episode 1, although they feature more heavily later.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if we're really missing anyone.
I don't think so.
Or at least anyone major. So, Big B Wolf is called out by Mr. Toad to stop a drunken rampage by the woodsman, Woody. Which I love that nobody remembers the woodsman's name, so they just call him Woody.
Does the woodsman have a name?
Not in the game, at least. They even he even talks about how nobody even remembers his name anymore. He's just called Woody, or the woodsman.
Keep going over the synopsis of the episode.
But you're called out, and Woody has himself a hooker named Faith. Well, you don't find out her name right away, but and he's being the ever living shit out of her. And rather drunk, so you intervene, and this really starts to get into the choices of the game. How you handle this, and also introduces the combat fairly well. And I'm pretty sure you're able to die throughout the game, but I never died once. What about you?
Yes, you can die. I did not die on this playthrough. On my first playthrough, I made a couple of mistakes, particularly fighting Bloody Mary at the end, and she killed me. But, I mean, you just restart. But, I mean, it's pretty difficult to die. You basically have to nearly 100% fail the QuickTime event.
Yeah, which some of the QuickTime events are very split second, especially with Bloody Mary. But you get in a fight, tussle around the woodsman's apartment, and go out the window and land directly on Mr. Toad's car. Yeah, because Mr. Toad has no luck with automobiles, it seems.
Nope, he doesn't have a lot of luck with a lot of things.
And then you're also introduced to just how tough fables are, or at least some fables. That's kind of a discrepancy with this, is that some fables are very, very tough, while others seem to be very fragile. Did you notice that?
Yeah. I
saw some people talking about this. After finishing the game, I poked around online a little bit, particularly because of one thing, which we'll get into. And I saw some people talking about how they think that it's just due to the popularity of particular fables. The Big Bad Wolf is a pop culture icon, essentially. So he'd be very strong, while other ones wouldn't be as well known.
Yeah, it seems to come down to all of them are at least a little bit tougher than normal humans. What's his name? Prince Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he gets stabbed and shot, and he still lives for a while afterwards. And not very often do people live after they've been stabbed and shot.
Well, unless you're Rasputin.
The ones that are sort of more magical or mystical or have powers of some kind, those seem to be the ones that are much more durable.
I mean, hell, the Big Bad Wolf took a fucking beating throughout this game.
Yeah, him and the Woodsman both have got basically superhuman strength.
Well, the Woodsman took his axe to the fucking noggin.
And then he still lived.
After Faith... was it Faith or Bigby that yanked it out of his head?
It was Bigby.
Okay, I can't remember who did it, but...
Faith grinds it into his skull, and then Bigby pulls it out.
Which, that's a recurring theme as well, retrieving the axe.
So, the Woodsman in classic fairy tale does not have a name. He's just the Woodsman or the Huntsman. It depends on which version of the fairy tale you hear. In later versions, he's been given the name Kirk and Peter. But this is in more modern eras.
Yeah, we're talking the Grimm version of the fairy tale, so... Yeah,
right.
Nameless.
Yep.
Also known as Woody.
Woody. I like Woody, though. It's a good name.
Yeah, Woody's kind of a sympathetic character, isn't he?
Yeah, he starts out a real dick, because he's attacking Faith and drunk and, like, swearing and calling her lots of names. Did you punch him if he calls her a bitch?
Yes.
I did, too. How did you play Bigby? Did you play him just sort of like the decisions you think you would make in that situation, or did you try to play character?
I tried to play him as the character, trying to be a good guy, but having trouble with it. There was one particular decision in episode 3 that I just did a snap decision on, but that was Bigby also being out of control, and then I played him a lot more straight and narrow because I saw him as being repentant at that point, trying to come back from the edge, essentially.
I played Bigby as an asshole with a heart of gold. So like sympathetic characters, he would be really nice to, but everyone else, he was just an asshole, and I fought a lot of people that I probably didn't have to.
Granted, there's some choices I have made that the options you're given, sometimes they come across. Well, it's sort of the LA Noir problem of you make a choice. It's like that's not the tone I would have expected.
Yeah, I mean, my Bigby did try and do the right thing in the end, but you know, he was a bastard about it the whole way through. Unless you were a sympathetic character. So I started out being really an asshole to Woody, but as the story goes and you realize that Woody's just like super down on his luck and having a hard time, I started being more nice to him towards the end. But like I was consciously aware of all this stuff going into it, just because I was like, the first time I played through, I just made choices based on what I thought was the right thing to do.
See, and I was trying to play the character.
And this time I made Bigby sort of my own character. I think I was kind of playing him too, but I was definitely being more of an ass than necessary. Anyways, carry on.
But you're given the option. This is the first major option of giving Faith what money you have based on, she's going to get in trouble if she doesn't get that $100. And the woodsman doesn't have that much on him. Actually, he has pocket change, and he's been essentially being comped.
Yeah, you find that out later, that his regular hooker has been covering for him, because it turns out she likes him.
And, first major choice. Did you give Faith the money?
Yeah, I gave her the money.
Yeah, me too.
Of course I did.
This was an 84.5% thing that you gave Faith money. Anyway, you part ways. You don't learn Faith's name right away. It's a big mystery throughout a good chunk of the first episode of just who this person is. And you go home to your shitty little apartment in the woodlands, and there's a line here, that Faith says that you're not as bad as people think you are.
Yep.
And I kind of
remember that. And that's going to be important later.
Yeah, and I kind of played off that as well. And that's essentially how I played Bigby, and also being called Mr. Wolf by Faith. Anyway, you go home to the smallest apartment in the woodland, which is in an apartment building in Fabletown, which Fabletown is this hidden neighborhood in New York City. Think of it as, I guess New York City's version of Diagon Alley, if you want to go Harry Potter for this.
Yeah.
It's essentially
not quite exactly that. Yeah, but Diagon Alley is hidden.
Yeah, but this is also hidden through magic.
Well,
if people walk through it, they're kind of confused and just kind of stumble through it, and that's it.
Yeah, there has to be something really major that draws the attention of Mundies, which is their word for normal human, in order for them to actually be aware of where they are.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sort of
they're in a daze.
The connection there, because it's essentially the same basic idea of a hidden magical community in a major city.
Yeah.
But anyway, the woodland is the apartment building that Bigby lives in, that essentially all the elite and big characters live in some degree, with the more important and more politically powerful towards the top, and the penthouse, or penthouses, I should say. But Bigby lives on the second floor in the shitty little apartment.
Yep. The smallest, shittiest apartment. And several times they make note to let you know that you're in the shittiest apartment. I don't know why. I didn't find it funny, and it doesn't really come into play at any point. At least not that I'm aware of.
Well, there is one point that Bigby's like, oh, I do live in the smallest apartment.
Yeah.
But
I suppose that was the joke.
Yeah, it was setting up for a joke in, episode 3. Episode 3. I was just looking at my things, and I'm pretty sure that's episode 3. Anyway, it was setting up that joke, and also really kind of hammering home that Bigby is only on the very margins of being accepted.
Yeah.
Because the woodland is essentially, where all the important people live, and everyone else is kind of fending for themselves, and that's really the theme of this game, is sort of a polarizing, if you're not with the in crowd, you're left out on the street, in some cases literally, and have to fend for yourself however you can. And it shows Fabletown as being a very corrupt government that just really doesn't care about anyone, other than themselves, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, you go home and you find someone's crashed in your apartment. Again.
Well, before that, there's a choice you have to make.
Oh, there is?
Because you run into
right.
Beauty outside.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast.
And Beauty's going somewhere. You don't know where yet.
Yeah, and she looks very distressed, hugging herself and trying to, not draw attention to herself. But, she is trying to hide from the big bad wolf, and that doesn't work.
No, and so you ask her, like, what's going on and where she's going, and she won't tell you.
Yeah, she's being
She's been really dodgy. And then she asks you to lie to Beast and say that you haven't seen her if he asks you.
Yeah, and I remain silent at this point.
I said I would lie to the Beast for her. And then when you go inside, when you're going up to your apartment, you run into the Beast, and he asks you where Beauty is, and you have a choice to say something or not. And I did lie to him. I told her I hadn't seen her.
And I told him
I hadn't seen her. Okay.
And mine was the 14.7% choice.
Right.
Which honestly didn't really come into play as much as I thought it would.
Do you still have to fight Beast in episode 2 if you tell him the truth? Okay.
Yeah,
so,
that
just doesn't really matter.
Yeah, he completely ignores the fact that I was being honest with him.
Right.
So, yeah.
False choice.
Yeah. Which is kind of a theme in Telltale games, but, really these sort of story-heavy, almost, not visual novel, but interactive movie games. But then again, there's only so much they could do before choices start to diverge so much that, doesn't really make a lot of sense to produce them.
Right.
But... you go,
so anyways, now you're at your apartment.
Yeah, you go up to your little shitty apartment, and you have somebody crashing on your recliner chair. Colin, one of the 3 little pigs.
Yep, the pig with the house made out of straw.
And boy, does he carry a grudge.
Yes, he does. Colin's a bit of a dick, too. You guys have a back-and-forth conversation where you're both just basically being dicks to each other. Even your nice responses are really sarcastic and kind of mean towards Colin. And you've got a couple of minor choices. You can give him a smoke or not, and you can give him a drink or not.
Yeah, which I did eventually to both, just to shut him the fuck up so the wolf could get some sleep.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I ignored him at first, but then I gave him the drink so that I could get some sleep.
Yeah, which... this is kind of an on-running gag as well, that Colin keeps escaping the farm, which the farm is this place in upstate New York that's far away from Mundy's, where all the fables, the people of different fairy tales and fables, that cannot pass for human and cannot afford a glamour, which is essentially a spell to make them appear human, are sent so they don't cause trouble. Essentially... concentration camp or internment camp, depending on your term, on which term you want to use.
Yeah, they make it a point to say that originally the farm was as close to like paradise as they could make it, with the only rule being they couldn't leave and they couldn't, be mean or hurt other fables. But it's implied that as time has gone on, it's become more and more like a concentration camp or something along those lines.
Well, the Book of Fables, a little snippet about it, said that the residents have come to know it for what it really is, a prison.
Yeah.
So yeah, you go back and forth with Colin, then you finally get probably about 30 seconds to shut off.
Yeah, and then Snow White comes banging down your door, and she's like, I need you, we have to go check something out.
Yeah, which Snow White is the deputy mayor's assistant at this point.
Yep. She's probably the most main character next to you. Like, yeah, she's the protagonist you don't play.
Yeah,
because her story is pretty intertwined with yours, and she spends at least half of the game with you.
Yeah, pretty much. So you go out to the doorstep of the woodland, which, now that I think about it, the security guard, did you wake him or try to talk to him? I never did.
No, you can wake him up, and which I did in my first playthrough. He's just got like some idle conversation. He doesn't give you anything. I left him alone in this playthrough.
I just realized that I never saw the security guard not sleeping. Anyway, you go on the doorstep and there's a coat there. Under the coat, oh look, it's the head of a dead hooker.
Yep, it is Faith's head. which you still don't know her name
Yeah, and
yet.
yeah, and in her mouth is the ribbon that she drew attention to, and whenever you met her, with a particular ring tied to it, and that's really your first clues about what to do.
Yep. And the ribbons are incredibly important throughout the entire story.
Mm-hmm. How much investigating did you do in this area?
I investigated the whole area and got everything.
Right.
I don't think you actually have to, but I went ahead and did
Well,
just because I couldn't remember.
It becomes a little important to a small revelation at the end. But you sniffing around, because wolf, you find a trail of blood leading to the fence that goes to the alley at the side of the woodland, and some blood at the pointed top of the fence, and a piece of fabric.
Yep.
And that's really all that's in the area, I believe.
Yeah, I believe that's it.
Anyway, you take the head to the business office, which is essentially the mayor's office. And at this point, do you meet Ichabod Crane, or is that later?
You do.
Okay.
You meet him.
Yeah, which...
and he's basically being a dick to Snow whenever you walk in. And then depending on what you do, you can choose to tell him or not tell him right away what's going on.
Yeah, I chose to tell him right away because honestly it seemed like if you didn't, it would just cause things to be worse, and Ichabod Crane seemed to be someone that would make your life miserable if people was pissed off.
Yeah, he makes your life miserable anyways because he's an asshole.
Yeah.
But yeah, I also told him right away. My first playthrough I hid it from him, but he finds out by the end of the conversation anyway.
And it's kind of unprecedented. Well, not unprecedented, but it's very important because Fables takes so much to kill that it's a little surprising that there's a murder.
Yeah. They say there hasn't been a murder in like hundreds of years or something like that.
Anyway, investigating, you also beat Bumpkin, or Buffkin, which is one of the flying monkeys from The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And also
he's a funny character.
And also a terrible drunk.
Yeah.
Dirty, drunken monkey. And the magic mirror.
I love the magic mirror stuff.
Yeah,
especially it's only a couple of bits,
especially
but the bad
Big
rhymes.
Especially since Big B is so annoyed having to do the rhyme to get the magic mirror to do anything.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, so then you're trying to figure out what to investigate, where to go, what to do, and you get
Buffkin gets the Book of Fables, which
right.
Which lists all the people that are in Fabletown and that have crossed from the homelands, and also gets a book of magic artifacts since you found a ring.
Yep. And you go through those books, and it gives you clues about who to look for. Then after you've done that, you go talk to the magic mirror, and he can show you where each of these people are. You cross a couple off the list right away. You find out that her father is dead. So he's obviously not a suspect.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Okay, well, show me the king. And you see a skeletal hen. Well, that crosses him off the list.
Yeah. But you find out that she's married. Faith is. And so you locate where her husband is.
Yeah,
and then...
Well, we should say that the ring is essentially the royal seal of her former kingdom. And Faith is... it's actually a fairy tale that I've never really heard of. The Donkey Girl.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with that outside of this.
Well, this is important because it's a story about a beautiful girl who escapes a forced marriage to her father, actually, after her father promises her mother to only marry the most beautiful woman in the land, and turns out it's my daughter. Well, hey, that's my daughter.
Yep.
So she escapes by slaying the magic donkey who actually shits gold. If I remember the story correctly, that they quickly go over.
Yeah, they said that it makes animals shit gold.
Which
I thought was funny.
Yeah. She wraps herself in it to conceal her beauty, and the magic is only broken by someone that can see her inner worth. And she eventually beats the prince of a neighboring kingdom, and they live happily ever after for a while. So, and that story is also very important because there's some things like...
Yep.
But anyway, you find her name through the ring, and eventually find her husband by association, and her husband appears to be shot with a bloody knife at his feet.
Yep. So then you're given like your first like big choice of where to go first.
Because you also get called that Mr. Toad has something going on, possibly. You hear a lot of fighting in the background, but then he says, "Oh, never mind." Essentially.
Yeah. So you have to choose whether to go to Prince Lawrence's apartment first or Toad's apartment first. Where did you go first?
I went to Prince Lawrence because, well, Toad was kind of a dick to me.
Yeah, I went to Toad's place first.
Well, I went to Prince Lawrence's mostly because his whole, "Oh, never mind."
Yeah.
It's like, well, that cleared that up. I'll go check that out later.
So this is your first choice that makes a difference, because if you don't go to Prince Lawrence's first, he dies. But if you go there first, he doesn't die.
Well, actually, that's not entirely true.
Oh. Okay, what happens then? Because I've actually never went to Prince Lawrence's first.
Okay, this is actually a multi-tiered choice. Because if you go to Prince Lawrence's, there's a chance that you save him, but you could also still screw it up and he dies.
Okay.
While you're there, you find out that he tried to shoot himself in the heart because he saw himself as just a burden to Faith, and he knew that Faith was doing some unsavory things to try to make ends meet, because typically the people that fall on the edges of society in Fabletown get into the seedier things, and a lot of this game revolves around prostitution in some form. Well, he knew that he was just being a burden, and Faith had left him already. And he suffers from a lot of depression because of just everything that's happened to him since he had to leave the homelands. So he shoots himself in the heart, or tries to, and actually stabbed himself as well.
Yeah.
And he missed the heart, and so shot himself in the lung, bled for a while, and passed out for a week. Which honestly shows, which it kind of throws a wrench in the whole, lesser known fables or, more fragile. But then again, this could be popular overseas and we just don't know it because we're dumb Americans.
Yeah.
Anyway, while you're talking with Prince Lawrence, someone breaks in, you don't know who yet, and starts rummaging around through their things, through Prince Lawrence's things, because Faith had left before. And you told Prince Lawrence just to stay still and play dead, because there's so much blood everywhere. There's a bloody knife, there's a gun, and Prince Lawrence puts the gun beside him, to kind of hide it. And as this is Tweedledee, I want to say, is rummaging around, you see Prince Lawrence slowly raise the gun to his head, and if you don't jump out before he fires, Prince Lawrence is dead. Even if you go there first. Okay. So it's a multi-tiered choice on saving Prince Lawrence. Anyway, you jump out, try to grab Tweedledee. You have this long chase sequence. And there's actually a really neat part where you come up to this pair of doors, and there's one ajar, but there's also one that has a number broken on it and swinging, and that's the one you have to go through. Otherwise, you lose this trail for a short time, but you eventually, it's a false fail state, because you're able to pick back up the trail. But it's a nice little bit of very quick detective work,
Yeah.
Anyway, you catch up to Tweedledee. You're trying to interrogate him, but you forget Tweedle. Oh shit, there's two of them. And you get jumped.
Yep. Tweedledum knocks you out, and then you wake up and Snow's there.
And she's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and this chase happens regardless of whether you get there first or not, because if you go to Prince Lawrence's second, it's Tweedledee that's hiding in the closet. And whenever you go to open the closet, he bursts out and runs away.
All right, I wasn't sure if it still happened. It's a little hard to tell sometimes where the paths diverge and then come back together.
Yeah. But that one of the scenes that made me probably laugh the hardest for some reason is Snow's he knocked you out, and then the other one kicked you in the rib, or kicked you, and while you were down, and Bigby's like, "Yep, that explains the ribs." Yeah,
and I don't. Bigby is a lovely deadpan snarker.
He is. So, but yeah, you go through that, and then if you didn't go to Toad's first, you go to Toad's. And Toad's doesn't really have much of a difference whether you go there first or second. I know if you go there second, then the other Tweedledum, you went there second. Doesn't he strong arm TJ?
Yeah, he strong armed, TJ, Toad Jr. A little bit, but that's it. Yeah, so TJ's
if you go there first,
upset.
If you go there first, you see Tweedledum ransacking Faith's apartment, and he runs away. You don't chase him then, though. He just, runs off, and you try and find him, but he's gone. He got away. But you stop TJ from...
Don't you mean the Woodsman's?
The Woodsman's apartment, sorry. You're right. My mistake.
Anyway, there's a bit of detective work here. Pretty easy overall, even though there's sometimes that the choices are not quite as obvious to figure out that Toad's lying. It's a minor thing, really, though.
Yeah, the more difficult part is each one of these things you find Toad lying about, you have to pick the correct response to catch Toad. Otherwise, it's like, Toad talked himself out of that one.
It's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't. It's only because the game allowed you, because none of his explanations are good at all. But, I mean, you get 3 chances to catch him in a lie, and if you catch him in a lie once, you've basically won.
See, I caught him in 2, and the third, it's one of those that, wait, that still doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm pretty sure you win even if you miss all 3, because when TJ comes out, after he talks to Snow...
He'll tell everything, because Snow is in there talking to TJ.
Yeah.
And gushing over his bug collection.
Yeah, so it's basically, do you figure it out before it gets told to you?
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. But yeah, then he tells you that the Tweedle came and searched the apartment and was looking for Faith's... What was it that he was looking... Was he looking for Faith's coat, or was he looking for something else? I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly
what he was there for.
I don't remember what he was looking for exactly either.
But he was there looking for something, and he ransacked the Woodsman's apartment and came and was going through their stuff and threatening Toad and Toad Jr. And you find out that Toad has Faith's donkey cloak.
Yeah.
And he gives that to you. Although you don't take it with you.
Yeah, you just go through the pockets.
Yeah. And then that's it for that scene, right?
Yeah.
Then you leave?
Yeah, pretty much. You talk to Toad Jr. a little bit, comfort him. And maybe he remembers it, but he has a concussion, so...
Yeah. Then after that...
Yeah, you get one more important choice on the drive over to this little bar, the Trip Trap.
Yep. And the choice is, who do you think did it at this point in the story?
Yeah, I didn't respond.
I said I thought Bluebeard did it, just because he's, suspicious and everyone hates him, and I felt like that's who Bigby would point the finger at the beginning with little evidence.
Well, see, for me, I took Bigby as doing serious investigative work, and he jumped the gun on a prime suspect without any evidence whatsoever. And I didn't, even though I didn't really like the option of not responding, there was, it felt like the best option I had. Even though I wish there was I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, if you say Bluebeard, Snow agrees with you, and you garner some favor with her for all the good that does. I don't think it really makes a difference how much Snow likes you or dislikes you the entire story.
Yeah, you're still going to get blue-balled.
Yeah. And then you get to the Trip Trap. You're looking for the Woodsman, and the Trip Trap is where Grindel is and Holly the Troll. And so you go in, and there's just a long conversation sequence where you're talking to the two of them, trying to get them to tell you where the Woodsman is.
Yeah, it's very obvious that he was at least here very recently. There's a half full glass of beer or something on the bar, and everybody is being very dodgy about talking to you.
And his picture's up on the wall as one of the regulars. And they're like, yeah, we don't know who the Woodsman is. We've never met him before. But you interact with both Holly and Grindel. And Grindel gets pissed off at you no matter what. And you can just sort of determine how pissed off at you he gets at this point. I went over and I sat down next to him and just annoyed the shit out of him.
Yeah, I did too.
Until Woody comes out of the bathroom. And it's like this huge oath.
And he's like, Hey, Holly, do you know that you're out of paper towels in the... Oh, shit.
Yep. And then you walk over and you talk to the woodsman. And this is where I started to feel sympathetic for him in the story. Or, I felt like Bigby did. Because he, just starts crying and, tells his whole story.
Yeah, he talks about how people don't remember his name. He's just the woodsman. And he was actually the bad guy in the story because he was planning on robbing Grandma.
Yeah, but instead he got there and Bigby was already there, so he became the hero.
Yeah, and he was only doing it to try to get a reward.
Yep. So, you go through the whole story with him, and then you talk about his modern, what's been going on with him, and Faith, and what's Holly's sister's name? Lily?
Yeah, Lily.
Although he doesn't really get into the bit about Lily there, because no one knows that the woodsman is banging Lily.
Yeah, but boy, do they find out.
And Grin is... I don't know if there's a way to avoid the fight with Grin, because if you aggravate him, basically it brings you to a point where you have to fight him. You don't get another choice. The only option you have at one point is to just punch him in the face. At least that's how it went for me.
Yeah, pretty much the same here, even though, I have to admit, it was kind of satisfying.
It was incredibly satisfying. So then you fight with Grin, and he transforms, immediately into Grendel. And you fight for a little, not very long, and then you sort of halfway transform. You basically become like Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And you fight, and you beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, before this,
and then
you start to get the eyes and the fangs, and actually Faith asked, hey, are you supposed to do that?
Yeah. And you can say...
no, not supposed to.
I think I said, not if I can avoid it. I think that's what I said to her. But anyways, you fight Grendel, and you beat him, and then you have the option to rip his arm off, or leave his arm intact.
Yeah, which he battered his arm at this point.
Yeah, I ripped his fucking arm off.
I didn't. But I think it also made a lot of my interactions with them later easier.
Yeah, he really, really carries a grudge if you pull his arm off, which I can't believe it. Or, I can't blame him, but my sort of, asshole Bigby is I need to make sure that this is never a problem ever again. And so I ripped his arm off.
Did you at least beat him with it?
Yeah, I did.
Anyway, throughout the fight, the woodsman's kind of backing up, and Tweedle D, down one of them, comes in the bar, and you have your final choice of the episode. Who to arrest. Because they both start to bolt, and you're looking, and you're do this, and...
Yeah, but, it gives you some time to decide which one you're going to do.
Yeah, they're doing a slow motion thing, and it's okay, who are you going to go after?
Yeah. And I arrested Woody.
Yeah, I went after the woodsman. My main thing, even though the Tweedle was covered in blood at the time, I looked at it as he already escaped once. He's just going to lead me into another trap, most likely. Turns out he wouldn't, but... just grabbed Woody, because, he's the easier mark, and, get some info out of him, most likely. And you're starting to take him back to the business office, and Woody's pissed about this, because, what are you arrested me for? The other guy was covered in blood.
Yeah.
And there's policemen all around the woodland. So you chain Woody to the light post, come up to the doorstop, and there's Stowe's head. Same as Faith's.
Yep.
And episode ends.
Yep. That is the end of episode 1. Anything... we went through it pretty thoroughly, but anything that we missed that you want to talk about? A choice you made about something else, or are we good to move to episode 2?
I think we're pretty good to move on to episode 2. I think it's a good establishment of the world overall. Between it and the Book of Fables, just the little snippets of lore throughout the game, which, granted, I wish they introduced it in the game a little bit better.
Yeah.
It gives a good background on exactly what's going on, for the most part. Granted, you don't unlock everything unless you make particular choices. So I would say that I have probably about a dozen left, or no, probably not quite a dozen, but somewhere in that ballpark that I didn't unlock because I didn't make particular choices or I didn't examine the right thing at the right time.
see.
Which is
I've got
a bit annoying.
I've got almost everything in 2 playthroughs. Obviously, there were a few things that I didn't get, but I went back and I checked, and there was only like 3 or 4 things I was missing. So I had 2 fairly different playthroughs, apparently. I don't remember tons about my first playthrough, just like the major decisions.
Granted,
and occasionally like failing.
Most of it's probably not major story stuff. They probably had it where all the really important stuff is on the main story anyway, but it would have been nice to have all the extra content go throughout.
Yeah. Alright. Episode 2?
Yep, episode 2.
Alright, episode 2 is titled Smoke and Mirrors. So, episode 2, like its little splash, picks up right at the end of episode 1. Where you see the head, but then I think it plays the intro or it cuts to black, and then you're in a police office.
Because
an NYPD police office.
Yeah, because you crossed the police line to get there.
Yep, and there's a detective that's questioning you, and she's never seen again unless you go through Tweedledee and Tweedledom's filing cabinet. And for some reason, there's a file on her, but she literally never comes up again in the story.
Yeah, supposedly she was going to be a bigger arc, but they just dropped it, which probably is for the best because this is a pretty tight game. I think it would have added some unnecessary stuff unless they had a very different storyline in mind because, yeah. Or this could come up in season 2, you know?
Yeah. But she's interrogating you, and you have the option to... I mean, you can't answer any of her questions, like, really answer them. You can, just be silent. You can be sarcastic, or you can be, like, a dick to her. I just smoked. Like, that was one of the options, is just to smoke. And, like, I just smoked every question she asked. I think I was sarcastic with her one time. But then Ichabod Crane comes in, and he's got a spell that is going to give them all 24 hours, or they forget the last 24 hours and go into like a forced sleep for a little while so that you can escape without having to reveal anything to the Mundies. And then you're on a car ride back to the woodland with Ichabod Crane, and he's talking a lot about what's going on, and you have an opportunity to either like accuse him of not caring and being like a dick and an asshole and stuff. You can sympathize with him, or you can basically just sit quietly through the whole car ride. And I was somewhere between indifferent and sympathetic.
Yeah, it's called what I did sympathetic, even though it was it felt more like it was Bigby talking about how he's going to miss her than anything else.
Yeah, that was what I did. I didn't sympathize with him, but I felt like Bigby in this situation wouldn't be being like railing on Ichabod, just because, I mean, Bigby's got a crush on Snow White, so he's really sad about her.
Yeah, blue ball
being
Bigby.
Dead. Yep. But so anyways, then you get back to the woodland, and Bluebeard is interrogating whoever it is that you arrested. For us, it was a woodsman, but it could be Tweedledee as well. And you show up and you take over the interrogation from Bluebeard. And Bluebeard is basically torturing him. Like, it's implied that he's torturing him. You don't really get to see very much of that. Unless, I guess, maybe you could, like, give the interrogation back over. Because there's times when Bluebeard tries to take back over. But, I mean, obviously, Bigby's
I told him
have
to
any
fuck
of that.
correctly and completely off.
Pretty much me too. And there's a couple ways you can go about this. You can either basically also torture whoever it is that you've arrested, or you can be nice to them. Like, the woodsman asks for a smoke, and he asks to have some of his alcohol.
Yeah, see, I was
he's got.
I was nice to the woodsman, particularly because, the woodsman kind of spilled about his story overall. Yeah,
I was too.
He tried to run, but can't really blame him.
Yep. Can't blame him there either. And I also was nice to him.
But I did,
and
I was able to persuade him to talk in the end.
Me too. And then things start to get out of hand because Bluebeard thinks that you're doing a shit job, and I punched that asshole right in the face.
Oh yeah, it felt good.
And started to fight him. Yeah, I hated Bluebeard. But I started to fight him, and then, lo and behold, Snow White shows up, and everyone's like, oh my god, you're not dead. What the hell's going on?
But to be fair, if you read the comics, you would know Snow White wouldn't be dead because she's a major character in the comics.
Yeah.
But see, I hadn't read it. But I was expecting another head when all the cops were around, and I was expecting, okay, female characters we have in this game. All right, well, Snow White, pretty much, because yeah, I wasn't expecting her to not be dead, but I hadn't read the comics, so that was the bigger surprise to me. But yeah, not as much because I wasn't spoiled on it, but yeah, it felt like something is off here.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I was spoiled on it because I had played through once, but the first time I played through the game, I hadn't read the comics, so I didn't know that Snow White wasn't dead, and I was like, holy shit, that's a bold choice to kill Snow White, because there's no indication, like, it's played straight, so there's no indication that Snow White's going to be alive, and I didn't spoil myself on the game on purpose, so I was surprised that she was still alive, like, pleasantly surprised, because Snow's a good character. But anyway, she shows up and is like, what's going on here? Like, she's upset that you were, she treats it like you were torturing Woody, whether or not you specifically were.
Well, to be fair, she comes in and does see Woody bloodied.
That's true.
And she knows that Bigby does have a tendency to go overboard a little bit.
Yeah.
And, well, Bluebeard's there, and, he's an asshole, so.
Yeah, nobody likes Bluebeard, though.
Except Bluebeard.
Except maybe Ichabod Crane? I don't think we ever find out whether or not he likes Bluebeard.
He likes Bluebeard's money.
Yeah. But so, she reveals that you have a body. TJ found the body in the river, or the lake, and reported it, and they brought the body in. And you talk to TJ about it, and you can push him hard, you can be kind to him.
Yeah, I was kind to him.
I was too. It doesn't... I actually examined the... You can examine the body first, or you can talk to TJ first. I examined the body first.
Yeah, that seemed to be the better option. Or, the more realistic option, not to, just talk to TJ first, examine the body, then, if there's questions that pop up, gotta talk to TJ again.
Yep, exactly. Plus, I mean, that would be, that's traumatic for a child, so you don't want to push him too hard. Talking to him twice might be a bad idea.
That's almost like you're a shrink or something.
Almost. I don't even know if you could talk him twice, because after you finish I guess you could, because when you finish talking to him, you can tell him that they have to stay, or you can let them go. Mm-hmm. But since I'd already examined the body, I just went ahead and let them leave. When you're examining the body, though, you find, among other things, you find another ribbon. Mm-hmm. You find a flower, which is important a little bit later on.
Yeah, which, there's an option that you may not be able to find the flower, because you have to pry the rigor mortis hand open. And Snow looks a little creeped out. Granted, she does still look like Snow at this point.
Yeah, she does still look like Snow at this point. Then you also find a glamour tube, which are these little, just these little sort of puzzle boxes that have glamour inside of them.
Yeah, which the glamour is, in this case, a lock of Snow White's hair and a photo of Snow White torn in half, which it was one of the last photos that she had, or it was the last photo she had with her sister Red Rose.
Yes, I think so.
Even though Red Rose never shows up in this game.
No, Red Rose is in the comics.
Yeah, and I imagine may show up in season 2.
Yeah. So you discover all that stuff. Then you recognize that the glamour is like a cheap knockoff. It's not as good as the ones that you get officially. So then that brings up like, oh no, someone's making
black market glamour.
Essentially black market glamour.
But to be fair, Buffkin does point out, technically there is no law against it.
Correct. So then...
and you also find this weird symbol that was on the body while it was still glamored. They are a little puzzled by that because it should have been concealed, but they're thinking that maybe it was put on the body after. Or, it wasn't part of the glamour. It was a memento of some sort.
Right. Oh, no, that was a pen or a pendant. Which that is...
and they also find track marks on the legs.
Yeah, showing that she was using drugs. But then the glamour wears off while they're examining the body, and you find out that it's a troll.
Whenever you open up the glamour tube.
Right. And you see that it's a troll, and I forget who it is that identifies her as Lily.
There's a couple options. You could identify her based on the tattoos on the body, or I think Snow eventually makes the connection that, wait a minute, there's a troll missing.
I think Snow was the one who figured it out with me, because I definitely don't remember getting it from examining the
Yeah, for
tattoos.
me, I said, must be Holly's sister, and I got it from the tattoos.
So then Ichabod Crane shows up, and he's basically like, what the fuck?
2 murders
is going on
in as many days.
Yeah, and then he doesn't really yell at you, he just is kind of a dick to you, and then tells you need to find out more information and go find it out. So then you go, and if you haven't talked to TJ, you can go talk to TJ, and he basically just confirms the story and tells you a few extra details to help you piece together in your mind what's going on, so that you can start figuring it out before the characters do, and then you send them on their way. And then you go to leave, and you get another choice. Snow wants to go with you, and Ichabod Crane is like, no, she can't do that, it's too dangerous. And you can choose to say that Snow can't go. You can tell her to make her own, like, she's a big girl, she can make her own decisions. And I can't remember what the third choice was. There's a third choice, though.
Probably be quiet, because that's a lot of times the third choice.
Okay. But yeah, I let Snow make her own decision.
Yeah, I let her make her own decision as well, and it counted as let Snow come with me, which is 91.9% chance. Yeah, well, not chance, but, people playing this. One of the more popular choices.
Yep. So after that, then you guys leave. Let's see, where is it that you go? You go back to the Trip Trap.
Yep. You were going to go tell Holly.
Yep, you go tell Holly what happens. And if you pull Grin's arm off, he is very much like, get the fuck out of this bar. I hate you. I never want to see you again.
See, because I didn't, disarm him.
Hi-oh.
I was able to talk my way in pretty easily, actually.
Yeah. Also, there's a new character in there, Jack. Is it from Jack and the Beanstalk, Jack? Let's see. I'm on the wiki.
I think he's little Jack Horner.
Nope, it's Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk.
I can't remember which Jack it is, because there's a few of them.
But Jack is a pretty big dick who kind of antagonizes everybody. And there's a couple ways you can choose to respond to him. Given that I was already in trouble with Grin, I kind of just let everything that he said slide. But you can be a dick to him and kick him out of the bar yourself. Although Holly eventually kicks him out.
I threw Jack out of the bar, and it felt good. And that, I think, also got me props with the bar.
Yeah, I let him stay until Holly told him to get the fuck out.
Yeah, I think towards the end they were about to put my photo up on the bar.
Nice. And were they actually about to do that, or are you just saying that?
No, I'm just saying that, but they pretty much liked me.
Yeah, they don't... After this, like, if you're really nice and gentle with Holly and allow Snow to help, they are at least pretty neutral with you by the end if you've ripped Grin's arm off, because that really puts you in a bad way with them. Like, if you continue to be really scary and an asshole, they're afraid of you and will basically do whatever you say because they're worried about getting killed.
Mm-hmm.
I did that on my first playthrough. I just kept going with that because I pulled Grin's arm off in my first playthrough too. But
I'm such a thing.
Otherwise, you can just be nice to them, and they're basically neutral with you at this point if you're nice to them. One choice that it's not listed here, but did you tell Holly about Woody and Lily?
No, I didn't.
I did.
Oh boy.
It honestly doesn't make much of a difference.
Yeah, they find out anyway, and Woody isn't there at the time to defend himself.
Right.
Because Woody's still a little arrested at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, she finds out naturally throughout the course of things, going through Lily's stuff later.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really make an impact either way.
After that, though, Holly lets you know that Lily was a prostitute at the Pudding and Pie, which is a nightclub in Fabletown.
Yeah, by Georgie Porgy.
Yep. And you go there.
Well, you also have a minor choice here of what to do with the body, which does play out a little bit.
Oh, okay. I promised Holly that they could do the proper funeral.
Yeah, I did too.
Which turns out badly later because Ichabod Crane winds up throwing it down the witching well, regardless of what you do or say. So she's really pissed at you if you promised her the body.
But in my playthrough, I told her that I tried, and Ichabod had already done it, and she accepted that and was nice to me again.
See, I did that too, but because I was only basically neutral with them, she's like, "Yeah, well, you're still an asshole."
Yeah, she just accepted it from me.
I think basically she says something along the lines of, "Well, that's fine, but you shouldn't make people promises you can't keep, asshole."
Yeah, she said...
Basically, that's how that plays out.
She said nothing like that to me.
Yeah. So then you go to the pudding and pie, and Snow White is like, "You know what? Maybe you should take care of this by yourself. I'm gonna go do something else." And so she leaves, and you go into the pudding and pie
look,
and
tits.
meet... Yeah. The breasts are exposed for our pleasure.
Yeah, she's...
I completely...
Yeah, I did not expect to see that.
Yeah, she's very topless. There's nips and everything. For several minutes, you keep seeing this.
Yeah, well,
in,
even the art on the walls has it, so...
Yeah, but when you walk in, you can just stand there for a minute and watch her dance. It's a stripper. I don't know if she's auditioning or if she's practicing for Georgie. But I mean, you can watch her tits exposed for several minutes because basically that plays on a loop until you go interact with them.
Yeah, essentially just in a thong, isn't she?
Yeah, she's just wearing a thong. And then multiple times throughout that conversation, like, the camera angle will allow you to see her just fully exposed.
Yeah, Disney would have had an aneurysm at this point.
On the one hand, I mean, like, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't either. It's just, it was...
It fits the scene, and it fits the tone, but it's just like, wow, this is surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, especially for a Telltale game. Granted, they did do Game of Thrones, so I imagine there's probably tits in that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in Game of Thrones.
Maybe they were practicing for Game of Thrones. It's like, okay, we need to warm up our tits, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't have pokies here.
But, so anyways, you have this conversation with Georgie, trying to get information out of him. And there's multiple ways you can approach it. You can be an ass to him. You can assault him.
You eventually just go around the club and threaten various parts of it. I did hit a few things. Yeah.
I actually didn't destroy anything this time. The first time I played through, I destroyed the whole club. And the second time, I was like, I wonder if it plays out any differently if you don't destroy the club.
Well, see, I flipped the keg, which revealed the floor safe, which he plays off that. Yeah, well, it was here when we got here, which Bigby could have ripped that fucking thing open and been done with this.
Yeah, even if you choose not to like throw the keg, you still like sort of kick it back with your foot, like you're gonna kick it over, and then you see the floor safe that way, and then Bigby just moves it out of the way if you choose not to destroy the keg. But eventually, you convince him, let's say, to get the key and open the safe and give you the book that has all of the records of the customers.
Because Clever Hans, the bouncer, who actually really wants to dance. I imagine you would love Clever Hans.
Clever Hans is incredibly attractive.
He's not very clever. And whenever Georgie says, well, I don't know what they do. They essentially freelance. George and Clever Hans is like, but what about your book? It's like, book? Yeah, what about your book?
Yeah. So you look in the book, and it's full of fake names. Mr. Smiths and Mr. Johns and Mr. Johnson. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Oh, my.
And, you're like, who's Mr. Smith? And Georgie's like, I don't know. The book's full of Mr. Smiths. And you're like, all right, good point. But then you talk to...
Well, you also see, there's also a list of numbers.
Yeah, which you don't exactly know what those are. And then you see that the girls' dressing room is open.
And there was a girl peeking around the corner looking at you.
Right. So you go in the girls' dressing room and you can explore around. And you can find some more evidence about Faith and stuff in there. But the main draw in that room is Nerissa, who is the Little Mermaid. Or she says she's the Little Mermaid.
Yeah, she is the Little Mermaid. And this is the not happily ever after Disney version. And she has real legs. In the original version, her legs were painful. The Book of Fables says that it's essentially the equivalent of walking on sharp glass.
Yep. So anyways, you speak to her and ask her these questions, and she keeps repeating that's the phrase that goes along with the ribbons, which this is the first time you've heard this, because if you ask the magic mirror about Faith, even though you don't know her name at the time, the magic mirror says, "My lips are sealed," and can't show anything, which is weird. And that has to do with the ribbons. You find that out you're pretty, I think you could figure it out pretty quickly.
Well, you know that there's a spell that's keeping them quiet, but you don't know what it's attached to yet.
Right, but you found out later that it's the ribbons that prevents them from being able to say certain things and do certain things.
Even though you could probably guess it's at least associated with the ribbons based on, Faith drawing attention to it.
Yeah. But anyway, so she figures out a way to tell you where to go to find out what's going on.
Yeah, she grabs her own money and pretends that, her and Bigby are about to have a fun evening, and hands him a key to a room of a sleazy motel a few doors down, or a few blocks down, nearby.
Yeah.
And as you're going down the street, you see cops coming out of there and with hookers that having a grand old time. And when you go in, oh look, it's Beauty.
Yep. And you have a little conversation with her,
and she's she's not hooking, but she's working the front desk, trying to feel somewhat clean about it.
Yep. Then she takes you upstairs, and she's got a master key to all the rooms. And you can look in the rooms, and you can look in 204, which is the key that you have, and there's nothing in there. There's a room where there's two people banging, which you can go in, but they're like, "Hey, what the fuck are you doing? Get out of here!"
See anything?
So you just leave.
I didn't even go in there.
No. If you kick down the door, you can see two people, but you can't really make out who they are, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And if you just open the door gently, they yell, "Who's that coming in?" And you're like, "Sorry."
I know that you're able to sit there and listen for a while.
Yeah.
And boy, are they energetic.
They're definitely going at it. There's two other rooms you can look in, which both of them are empty, and Beauty gets pissed off at you if you keep opening all the doors. Then you go to open the actual room you need to get into, which is 207, and her key doesn't open the door. She's supposed to have a master key.
Yeah, she's a little confused because,
it doesn't open.
It's not opening, and she doesn't understand.
Yeah. And then Beast shows up.
And boy, is he pissed.
And he's really upset.
And also slightly drunk.
He thinks that you and Beauty are having an affair.
Well, to be fair, Beauty isn't wrong.
That's true. But he thinks that you and Beauty are having an affair.
And this happens regardless of if you were honest with him or not. Because it completely ignores the fact that you told him the truth. And he still thinks that, you're doing something behind his back.
Yeah. So then you get into a fight with him, which ultimately knocks down the door to the room. Now, before we get to that, there's a choice that, for some reason, it thinks is important. But did you keep punching Beast while he was down?
No, I didn't.
Or did you not hit him anymore? Okay, I didn't. During that fight, though, you totally gouge out his eyes.
Well,
100% you gouged out his eyes, but his eyes are fine.
Well, to be fair, Fables do take a hell of a beating. And that's not the first time you grab ass.
That's true.
And that's not the last.
Or grab ass. But then you break down the door and you reveal
a murder scene.
A murder scene. The bed is covered in blood. There's flowers everywhere, which are the same flowers that you found if you pried open Lily's hand. And there's an orgy of evidence in this room. Then it cuts to Ichabod Crane, and he's watching you on the magic mirror.
No. It doesn't do that immediately.
Oh, it doesn't?
You have to investigate.
Oh, I thought the investigation was at the start of the next episode.
No. The investigation is here. I think.
Let's see. Let me quickly glance at the synopsis, because I'm doing all this from memory. I didn't take any notes.
Because if memory serves, it ends with Bigby finding the photos, and then Ichabod's watching them. And that's
you're right.
I
just glanced at the synopsis
at the end of the investigation, because you're going through this and you find a storybook of the Mundy version of Snow White, with
right?
With the dress, the apple, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's the end of episode 2 where you do the investigation. I just got that mixed up in my mind because episode 3 does pick right back up with you in the murder room.
Well,
so I just got that mixed up in my mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, you investigate the room.
And you find out that
I found these flowers.
Yeah, you find out essentially this is playing out the Monday version of Snow White, where where she eats the poison apple, falls into an enchanted sleep, and is kissed by the handsome prince and woke up. And you find this. You find the apple. You find some wine. You find a dress that's seen better days, even before a murder happened, because I guess she slept through it.
She likes it rough,
and
that's actually one of the things you can say whenever you're comparing evidence. You can tell Beauty, like, I guess they like it rough.
Yeah, see, I didn't. I wasn't that much of a dick to her.
No, I mean, I played it out straight and got like all 3 comparisons correct, which they're not that hard to get right.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much, if you read the storybook and notice the flowers, it's easy to see. Oh, well, obviously what's going on here.
Yeah,
and Beauty was very impressed by my detective skills.
Yes, she was impressed by my detective skills as well, despite the fact that it didn't really take very much detectiving to figure out exactly what happened.
Dr. Watson could have figured this one out.
So then, once you've done that,
after you find the dress, you see some package of photos on the ground, and you open it up, and the very last photo is the enchanted, sleep Snow White, in massive sarcasm quotes, and Ichabod Crane. And Ichabod Crane's watching the magic mirror. He finds out, oh shit, Bigby knows, smashes it, and runs off.
Yep, he uses the magic lamp from Aladdin to smash the magic mirror.
Yeah, which Bigby at one point says, well, once the genie's freed, I guess it's just pretty much a standard lamp. Rubs it anyway, though.
Yeah, which is extra sad because now Robin Williams is no longer with us.
Yeah.
And when this game was both made and the last time I played it, he was. So like I chuckled at it the first time, and then this time playing through it, I went,
well, genie's been freed.
The genie's out of the bottle. And then that's the end of the episode. Anything to add?
Well, because it had to resolve the first cliffhanger, and the interrogation lasted a bit long. It did feel like this one dragged on, like you said.
Yeah, episode 2 felt the longest. I don't actually think it was the longest episode. Let me go look at my Wolf Among Us playlist, actually, and that'll give me a rough idea of how long that they were.
Well, episode 4 is only showing 4 major choices. Maybe I missed one copying them. But it has the fewest choices by 1.
Actually, episode 1 is the longest in terms of time-wise to play. And then episode 2 is pretty much right on track with the rest of them at about an hour and 25 minutes for me.
Because it has that aha got you moment, maybe it just felt longer, you know?
I mean, it felt longer. I would have bet money before I went and double-checked the times that episode 2 was the longest. But it just feels long. But anyways, yeah. I don't think I have anything else to add. Although, before we get to episode 3, I need to take a short break, if that's okay with you.
Alrighty.
Okay. And we're back from a short break to dive into episode 3, which is titled A Crooked Mile. Do you want to take this one since I did the last one, or do you want me to go through this one as well?
I'm trying to remember. We pretty much immediately go after Snow, which is she's delivering the eulogy at Lily's funeral.
Right, so you run downstairs, and Beast is there, and he's like, what's going on? That was a dead body, and basically I told Beast to fuck off.
Well, there's no body, but yeah, there's blood everywhere.
Yeah, it's whatever. And I basically was like, Beast, I don't have time for this now. Fuck off. And Beauty tells you that they were going to do, I think it's Beauty, tells you that they were going to do the funeral. And so you go to the funeral to go find Snow and make sure that she's okay, because you're worried that Ichabod was the one who committed the murder of Faith, which you find out later he didn't, but I mean, like, right off the bat, like, it seems pretty obvious.
You're wondering about Lily at this point, because, this is also a little bit fresher, and...
sorry, Lily, not Faith. My bad. I said the wrong name.
Yeah, you're not sure. You think they may have killed her, but at the same time, I was having doubts about Ichabod pretty much from the start, because why?
Yeah.
Just a pure lack of motive, because yes, he's a fucking creep and has fuck fantasies about Snow White. But to be fair, Bigby's not too far behind.
Yeah. Obviously, this time I knew who it was and wasn't. But even the first time I played through, I was like, I don't feel like this is Crane. Maybe
I thought he was a creep and wanted to bring him in for other things, but
yeah, I was thinking the first time I played through, like, somehow maybe Bluebeard, just because of the way they talk about him. And back in episode 1, there's like a folder you can look at where Bigby makes a couple comments about Bluebeard.
Yeah, which Bluebeard is this very suave-looking businessman, essentially.
Yeah, I have to say, I forgot to mention this in the no spoilers part, but there are a lot of shared voice actors between this and The Walking Dead, because Walking Dead was first, like, in, this lineup. It was Walking Dead, and then Wolf Among Us. And they used a lot of the same voice actors. And Bluebeard is the main character from The Walking Dead. The same voice actor.
I thought he sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite place him, but then again, didn't really care about The Walking Dead, so...
Yeah, he's got more of like an aristocratic, snobby tone in his voice.
Wait. I think
I
have the proper term for this.
What?
Blue blood.
Hi-yo.
It's not wrong.
Yeah, he's got more of that tone as compared to The Walking Dead, but it's the same voice actor. And then the voice actor who did the little girl in The Walking Dead, who I can't remember her name. Clementine. The voice actress that did Clementine does 2 or 3 characters in The Wolf Among Us. She does the Clementine voice for TJ, and then there's 1 or 2 other characters that I'm pretty positive it's her. But anyway, sorry, that was a digression. I just had to bring this back, or had to bring that up.
Anyway, you have a couple things here at Lily's funeral. One is that Prince Lawrence shows up if you saved him.
Yeah, which I did.
You're able to talk to him a little bit. He's essentially just trying to find closure for Faith as well, because it's a very similar circumstance. And you're thinking maybe Ichabod's involved with this as well at this point. But the major choice here is if you interrupt Snow White giving a eulogy or not, and I didn't.
I also did not.
It seemed like a dick move.
Yeah, it gives you enough time, too, to go look at all the pictures on the table.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to do that because I was talking to Lawrence, and that ate up time. So you're going to have to tell me about that.
I mean, there's nothing major on there. There's some letters and cards written by people sympathizing and sort of saying their last words to her or trying to support Holly. And then there's a couple pieces. Like, there's a big-ass helmet that's very reminiscent of the Skyrim helmet, the iconic one, which I had completely forgotten, but it's there loud and proud. And then there's a couple other little trinkets of Lily's, but nothing major or that matters to the story. So it's just like a little bit of extra like backstory about what's going on there if you take the time to examine it.
Yeah, see, I didn't get a chance to examine it because I was talking to Prince Lawrence, and he was there essentially trying to find closure.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually the last time you run into Prince Lawrence outside of the very end of the game. And he's just kind of there, and he doesn't really get any focus whatsoever. So this is kind of the send-off for Prince Lawrence, which, once again, is pretty standard through this style of game, where if you have a secondary character that could die, but you're able to save, usually there's one sort of scene with them to, give them a sort of send-off. It's like, hey, you're not dead. Let's wrap things up.
Yeah. Then after the eulogy, Snow comes and she talks to you. And I had issues with Holly and Grin because obviously I had pulled Grin's arm off. And they're like, we want you fucking gone. You're nothing but a troublemaker. Trouble follows you everywhere.
Yeah, they were concerned about me being there. They thought I would cause trouble because I was there, but were kind of all right about me being there. Granted, a little wary of it, but can't blame them.
Yeah, and Snow's like, as soon as we talk, he'll leave. And so then we go, and I talk to Snow, and I tell her what's up. And I was honest with Snow.
Yeah, I was honest with her as well. It's not a major choice, but you're able to show her the picture.
Yeah. But yeah, I was honest. I showed her the picture, let her know what was up.
And boy, does she do a 180 on Crane, because she was trying to defend him for quite a while.
Yeah. you're going to leave, and then I forget who it was that comes up to you, Narissa or...
The Tweedles.
I don't think we... Well, no, before that. And they're like, hey, we need to do the rest of the eulogy. And then she's like, okay, after the eulogy, we'll leave. And then the Tweedles show up while you're hanging out at the back.
Yeah, and also at this point, you find out that Crane tossed the body down the well. So they were a little upset about that, but were more upset with Crane than they were with me.
Vivian is the other girl I was trying to think of. Vivian shows up in episode 2 as one
Georgie
of the...
Porgies.
Yeah, and at this point, all you know about her is that she's just, like, one of the hookers. You get the sense that she's, like, the head hooker, but you don't understand the role that she plays until later. She's a major character, or a much larger character than just the head hooker.
Actually, I don't think she is a hooker. She's just a stripper.
Yes, but that's something you don't find out until later, I don't think. I think it's just, like, you're led to assume that she also is a hooker, because she's one of the, she also has the ribbon around her neck, and so far all the ribbon girls have been hookers.
Well, they also said that some of the girls do hooking on the side. They didn't say all of them, so...
That's true. I don't think it explicitly says what she does until later, and you could believe it either way. I think is how that's set up. Regardless, it doesn't really matter that much at this point. It's not until episode 4 or maybe even 5 when you realize how important she is.
Yeah, it's really not until the end of her story arc.
Yeah. So anyways, the Tweedles show up. They've got shotguns to your back, and they're threatening you. And they're trying to get you to cut a deal to leave Ichabod Crane alone.
Yeah, essentially go to your office and twiddle your thumbs.
And I told him to fuck off.
Yeah, same here.
And then everyone else comes up, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "Oh, we were just making a deal with Bigby." And
I said, "Nope."
I think it's Snow. And I was like, "Nope, hell no, I'm not making a deal with you guys." And then a fight breaks out. Grendel and Rose turn into, well, Grendel and a troll, respectively, and start fighting the Tweedles. And you go Teen Wolf and fight as well. And I don't know if there's a way to get out of this without everybody getting shot. But Bigby,
I got shot.
Yeah, Bigby, Grendel, and Rose all get shot.
I thought Rose was dead.
Yeah, I thought Grendel and Rose were dead.
Grendel is still moving, but Rose just collapsed. And I thought, there goes her head.
Okay, that's something that's slightly different, because since I tore Grendel's arm off, I guess he's already injured, and he just collapses too.
Yeah, see, for me, he didn't just collapse.
Yeah, once he gets shot the first time, he goes down, and he's out. And then they shoot Rose in the gut, and shoot you, and run away.
Yeah, in my game, it looked like they shot her in the head. Either the head or the upper body, so maybe that's slightly different as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There are lots of little minor changes that don't really make a difference. Telltale does a pretty good job of putting in little things that don't really make much of a difference, but they make it feel like a different story. Because, effectively, there's no difference in what happens to them, but, she was very clearly shot in the gut in mine, and you're saying she was shot more in, like, the chest or the head. So that's just a little difference. Which is nice. Nice little attention to detail. But anyways, the Tweedles, they get away, and you go through the intro, and then it picks back up, and Dr. Swinehart is patching you up.
Yeah, this is not going to be happening again, huh?
Yeah, no. Bigby is going to listen to the doctor's orders and never get shot again. Where does Dr. Swinehart appear in any...
I'm not sure, actually.
Original source, the 3 army surgeons. Oh, yep, it's a fairy tale about army surgeons.
Didn't know that one.
From roughly the 1700s. They're so good as surgeons that they can perform surgery on themselves. Interesting.
I know they mentioned that Swinehart was so good at surgery he could perform it on himself in the Book of Fable, little excerpt of it, but didn't really say where he was from, so I just assumed that it was some sort of fable, but I didn't look into it. But yeah. I do have to say that they do pull from fairly obscure fables, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly assumed Dr. Swinehart was just an original character that was necessary for the story, but nope, it's from a fairy tale. they're like colonial area army surgeons, and there's brothers, three traveling brothers, and Dr. Swinehart is one of the brothers. Cool. Anyways, he basically tells you need to take it easy, get some sleep, yada yada.
Yeah, because
and you're like, I can't.
In a while, and it's like, I'll sleep when I die.
He's like, basically, I'm working. I'll sleep when I die. So then you go down to check on the magic mirror.
Yeah,
because Crane smashed it, and you've discovered that, and Buffkin's trying to put it back together.
Yeah, you could be a kind of a dick to Buffkin if you really wanted to, but I was all right with him.
Yeah, I was nice to Buffkin. I liked him. You get into an argument with Bluebeard when he comes in.
Oh, there's
again different ways you can handle it. But it's all an argument. I think you can even punch him during this.
I think you can, but I just kind of threw him out again.
Yeah, I did too. Then you do some good old fashioned detective work, and you have to decide.
Yeah, you're told somehow. I can't remember how that. No. Narissa shows up, doesn't she?
Is that in this episode? I thought that was in episode 4 when Narissa shows up.
In episode 4. How do you find out that he's going to go to his witch? No, Buffkin tells you that he's going to go to the witch.
That's right.
I was trying to remember how you do it because there's sometimes the little details you forget. Buffkin was drinking in the rafters and was in no condition to try to stop Crane.
You go through Crane's desk. That's it. Buffkin says something about that. So then you go through Crane's desk and figure out where the witch probably is. Or
he actually mentioned that before because I went through all Buffkin's options.
Yeah, same for me. But like naturally in the story, like he says something about it.
Then he mentions it again. People are, and Bigby's like, "Why didn't you mention this before?" Well, outside of when you just mentioned it.
Yeah,
I got a migraine and I'm hungover.
But then you have to decide where to go investigate. You know that the Tweedles are involved, so you're like, I could go to the Tweedles office, or you can go back to the Trip Trap
go through Lily
to try
things,
to go through Lily's things.
There.
Or you can go upstairs to the penthouse where Ichabod Crane lived, or maybe not the penthouse, but one of the upper really nice apartments.
The penthouse.
Okay, it is a penthouse. And you go to all three.
No, you don't.
But really, the only thing that makes a difference. Yeah, you do.
No,
the only thing that makes a difference is where you went first. Okay, so I went to all three.
No, I didn't go to all three. I went to Crane's apartment first.
Okay, I went to the Trip Trap first. Then I went to Crane's apartment. Then I went to the Tweedles office. And if you go to the Trip Trap, and it might be for the Tweedles office too first, when you get to Crane's apartment, Bluebeard has burned everything. And it's basically useless. You're like, well, shit. I guess I should have came here first to get any direct evidence.
For me, I went to Crane's apartment first and investigated around and eventually found Jack trying to liberate some of the goods from Crane's office. And he wanted to cut me a deal to pretend I never saw him and he'll tell me the name of the witch. But he doesn't know anything else.
Oh yeah, here's one of the decisions. Did you make a deal with Jack only if you visit Crane's apartment first?
Yeah, see, so this is actually a pretty big diversion. I didn't realize it was that big. So, investigating around, you also find out that the brand of wine in Crane's apartment matches the one at the crime scene, further implicating him. And various little lore tidbits. He actually has a statue of the Headless Horseman.
Okay, that shows up in epishave 4
as well.
When you go to the
it's implied that Jack's been back and kind of liberated some more stuff.
Okay.
Well, you have an option to cut a deal with Jack or just beat the ever-living crap out of him. And I sort of walked the line there, and it was I punched him once, and he said, "Okay, I'll give you the information. Then you can choose to make a deal or not." And the way it kind of played out for me was I sort of made a deal. I said that he was helping, but I still got him in trouble because Snow White was there and saw that Jack was trying to steal some stuff. So it said that I didn't cut a deal with him, which is 29.3% of the players. Well, I guess I at least make that choice. Then I went to the Trip app and found enough information to go directly to the next place and never went to the Tweedles at all.
Okay, so I went to the Trip Trap first, and we'll go ahead and talk about that. I assume it plays out the same.
Yeah,
whether you go
everyone's
there first or
kind
second.
of drunk/high on the medicine that you gave. And Grindel was very happy to see me because he was high off his balls.
Yeah, he was like, this is where if you've been nice after you rip his arm off, where he's like, look, I'm high, let's have a drink, let's bury the hatchet, essentially.
For me, he was like, oh, come on, Sheriff, let's have a drink, then I'll help you.
And then if you drink with him, he passes out. I assume he passes out in that one, too. And then it says, Grin will not remember this.
That just hilarious fourth wall breaking moment.
Yeah, that was cute. I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I got a good chuckle
Also, if you told Holly and Grin that Woody was sleeping with Lily, Grin is berating him.
No. It's the same. The only difference is how Holly found out, because she finds out by going through Holly's things. And is bored, upset about it, but doesn't take it out on Bigby, because I guess either she thought he didn't know, or whatever, or was just drunk. Well,
right.
Woody's essentially thrown out of the bar.
Okay.
So that plays out pretty much the same. Only Grin is a little happier to see me.
Yeah.
And then you eventually find out, Lily stuff's in the back room. Lily's just passed out on her cot.
Yeah. And she, you have to figure out how to move her arm, which is really easy. You just, make a noise and she moves her arm so you can get the box out from under the bed.
Yeah, you try talking to her, and I just said, hey, Lily, and she snored and moved.
Okay. I was, rummaging through, and I moved some bottles, and it made a clinky
I didn't
noise,
do that.
And she moved.
I just talked to Lily, or poked her. Or, no, it was talk to her, and she moved.
I mean, it's just different ways to get the same result. And then you start going through the things, and you find, some information. And she talks to you a little bit along the way.
Lily wakes up sort of half groggy, and is asking, why the hell do you care about us? And, making you feel like a complete dick for things going this far.
Yeah. I was kind to her, as kind as possible during that interaction. Asshole with a heart of gold. I feel sorry for her because she found out that she had lost her sister and was going through a lot.
Yeah,
so I wasn't going to be a dick to her.
her sister was fucking one of the regulars.
Yeah. So for me, you find some evidence. I don't remember specifically what it is that you find, but you find a piece of evidence. And you're like, well, this is part of the puzzle to where the witch is. But I need more.
Because Jack gave me the name Auntie Greenleaf, I was able to go through the address book and see AG, Auntie Greenleaf, gotcha, closed the book, and immediately went to Auntie Greenleaf.
Yeah, I get the address book. From there you get the address book, but he's like, well, I don't know who any of these people are, so I guess I need to go somewhere else. So then after that, I went to, like I said, up to Ichabod's apartment and found that Bluebeard had burned all of the evidence for reasons that are honestly never explained. I assume that he had some shady dealings with Ichabod, and he was covering his tracks.
Yeah, that's pretty much confirmed by going through his stuff. And at one point, you're able to find some money that's being embezzled, but I just put it back. I guess Jack eventually found it. I was hoping Snow would, but guess not.
Okay. So then after that, it's like, well, I guess the only place left to go was the Tweedle's office. So you go to the office, and did you meet Flycatcher at all?
I didn't meet him until the 5th episode. Just one line from him, and that was it. And that was the character that had the line bug out, so I never even heard his voice. No, wait.
So Flycatcher
he did speak a couple times at the truck, but it was, not directly to Bigby, so.
If you visit the Tweedle's office, you meet Flycatcher, and you have a short conversation with him, and he's a really sympathetic character. He's from the Princess and the Frog, and he's the frog that gets turned into a prince when the princess kisses him. And he used to work at the Woodland as the janitor there, but Ichabod fired him, and then he went to go work for the Tweedles. And apparently he's one of the only characters that Bigby had a decent relationship with there, because they talk like they're old friends, and he helps you out. and he lets you into the Tweedle's office. And there's a lot of interesting things in the Tweedle's office. There's a filing cabinet you can open that has files on a bunch of the main characters, which gives you some information.
I'm kind of upset I didn't go to the Tweedle's office.
Information about where they are and what they're doing, and your first reference to the Crooked Man. I'm pretty sure that's the first reference to the Crooked Man.
Because I didn't go to the Tweedle's office, I didn't have the reference to the Crooked Man at this point.
Yeah, so he's got files on everybody that owes him money, and Beauty and Beast are in there. You can find out about their money troubles before they tell you later. It tells you where Cinderella is. She's in Europe, apparently, based on that file. You can learn about, or you learn here that Ichabod is actually in debt to the Crooked Man, which has got some interesting things implied to it. Like, I don't know if it gives you any different dialogue choices later on compared to not, but you find that out, and there's a couple other characters you find stuff out about too. I can't remember. There's a file on the police detective who you were speaking to at the beginning of the second episode. So that's what I was saying. Like, she shows up in this file, but it's never mentioned otherwise later on in the game. So yeah, I assume they were probably going to do something with her and left that in there, but took out whatever the rest of her story was going to be. You can also rummage around the office and find a few other things about how weird the Tweedles are, but it also kind of humanizes them a little bit. They have this weird back and forth letter exchange about getting a dog. And eventually you discover that they have a secret room in their office. And the flycatcher shows you where it is and how to open it. And you go down into their shady secret basement, and there's all kinds of stuff in there. Like, there's packages, the packages that you find later in episode 4. Those are in the basement.
See, I never encountered those, so I didn't get the connection for the packages until much later.
Yeah, there's also some money that Ichabod was using to make a payment to the Crooked Man, and you can choose to take the money or leave it, and I took the money with me. And there's some other just things that connect to other characters and reveal situations about them that you're going to find out later. And then Flycatcher is like, holy shit, these guys are actually our criminals, you weren't lying. And then you have a chance to offer the Flycatcher a job back at the Woodland. Because, obviously Crane's no longer there, and you and Snow are in charge right now. And so I offered him a job. That's considered one of the main choices. Just like how Jax is if you go to Crane's apartment. So I offered him a job, and then he leaves, and you find something that says Auntie Greenleaf there. I don't remember what it is. It's a letter or something. And you're like, oh, Auntie Greenleaf, let me see if these initials match anyone in the book. And you're like, aha, AG. And so then you leave, and then the story meets back up.
Yeah, and for me, I got to Auntie Greenleaf's late. Same?
Yeah, I also got
even though
late.
that doesn't make a lot of sense because, I only went to 2 places, and one was just upstairs. What was that? A car in traffic? Which it does make me think about something. Just how fucking blind are the cab drivers in New York?
Really blind.
I mean, there's a couple times that you get a cab just covered in blood.
There's also the car chase later where you are definitely out somewhere else in New York City as a werewolf. But I guess that's beside the point. It's fine there. We'll gloss over that. But yeah, I got there late, which made sense for me because I went to all 3 places.
Yeah, for me, I should have been at least early.
Yeah.
Maybe I was trying to talk sweet to Snow. No, I'm not a creep like Crane.
Yeah. So you go to Auntie Greenleaf's place, and you knock on the door, and there's a little girl that answers. And that's, incredibly suspicious right away. There's this little girl in this apartment, and no one else is home. But you talk your way in, and you can either be nice, or you can sort of barge in and be a dick.
I just let Snow handle it.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can also just let Snow handle it. Be like, I don't know how to handle these people. And she's like, children? And he's like, yeah. So she talks her way in. You look around the apartment and see some things.
That does make me wonder, can the Fables have children? If they didn't have them in the stories?
I don't know. That's a good question. We don't hear about any Fables having children.
Oh, well, Toad Jr.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, but I can't remember if he's in the story or not.
I can't remember either. Next time he shows up, on this page, I'll look him up on the wiki and find his story. But anyways, you explore this room and find different things that are definitely related to magicalness. And you poke around and you find a glamour tube. And when you open the tube, the little girl turns into an old lady who is Auntie Greenleaf. And you have a conversation with her about Ichabod. And she's initially uncooperative, but then Snow threatens to burn down her tree, her magic tree. And then she talks and tells you where to go and what to do. And then Snow's like, burn down the tree anyways. And then you get to make another major choice about burning down the tree or not. And also, is it a choice or is it mandatory that she gets a job?
It's a choice.
Okay, so I did not burn down the tree.
Same here.
And I also offered her a job.
Same here.
I will say that in my first playthrough...
play later.
Yeah, in my first playthrough, I did burn down the tree.
Which, that's the rare choice.
Yeah, and that makes it difficult, a lot more difficult, because she's a big reason why, if you bring the Crooked Man back at the end, why you're able to convict him at the trial.
Yeah, see, I wasn't sure if the Crooked Man being convicted was a sure thing or not.
It's not. You can lose. Even when Nerissa comes in, you can still lose. Because if everyone in the town is on his side, when Nerissa comes in and she's against him, everyone basically is like, no! And, like, you can still, like, just kill the Crooked Man as Bigby, but you can actually lose that interaction.
So how does that play out at the end? Oh, well, I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah. So she tells you where to go and what to do, and both of us chose to offer her a job and not burn down the tree on this playthrough. And then you go back to the Pudding and Pie to confront Crane, because that's where she tells you that he is. He also got a magic ring from her that's supposed to... it's a ring of Dispel, but Auntie Greenleaf says that it's defunct now. It doesn't work anymore. She just gave it to him so that he would leave. So you go there, and he's basically, like, assaulting these girls, trying to get them to confess that he didn't do it. And you go in and you break it up, and you can punch Ichabod, or you can yell at him, or whatever. And I basically just insulted him and yelled at him and belittled him and emasculated him, because to me that was more satisfying than just punching him. And then you pick him up, you arrest him, and you haul him outside. And this is where you run into Bloody Mary and the Tweedles. And the Crooked Man is inside the car. You
don't see him.
There's cars that pull up and trap you in the alley. And he's in the car, and, like, he rolls down the window and waves his hand at the end of that interaction, like, to let you go. But other than that, you don't see him. So you get into a fight with the Tweedles and Bloody Mary, and the Tweedles just gun you down with a whole bunch of buckshot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Bigby takes a hell of a beating here.
Yeah, Bigby gets in big trouble.
I would say a good dozen shots.
Definitely. They just keep shooting and reloading and shooting. And they kind of like, okay, we got him. Yeah, and then he stands up.
Yeah, and you keep going further and further to your transformation.
Yeah, and eventually you go full werewolf. And then you just beat the shit out of the Tweedles. And it gives you the option to kill Tweedledum. Like, you rip his throat out. Did you kill Tweedledum?
Yes. I did too. At this point, I figured Bigby's out of control. There's no way we'd hold back. Yeah. And this feels... and this justified, you know? Even though people give you shit about it.
Yeah. And this choice is pretty close to 50-50. It's slightly in favor of people not killing him.
Yeah, which is honestly surprising.
But
that's 44.2.
Yeah. So, but I mean, my asshole Bigby being, I put a stop to this. Also, my life is in danger. Also, solve the problem so that it never becomes a problem again. I ripped his throat out with prejudice. And then Bloody Mary shoots you in the back with a silver bullet.
Yeah, it turns out that's a thing.
Yep. Which downs you instantly. And in the no spoiler section, this is where I was talking about. You are given a button prompt, which on the controller is A, and you just hammer away on it to to get up. Like, you're thinking, okay, if I fill up the bar, I'll get up. And it never quite fills up. It always, like, gets right up to the top and then it drops back down. And that happens a few times. And she's got the woodsman's axe. And she walks up to you, and she's about to kill you.
Yeah, just nonchalantly drag you along the building. You know, you hear that grinding noise.
Which I thought was a nice touch.
Bloody Mary's a bitch.
Yeah, she is. She's really a really scary character.
Yeah, she loves her job.
But right before she's about to kill you, Snow's like, no, stop, I'll give you Ichabod Crane, don't kill him. And that's when the crooked man rolls down the window and is like, yeah, you know, with his hand motion, that's fine.
Yeah, and so this entire time I'm just silent because, you know, lights out. Big B has left the building right now. Please leave your message.
I told Snow to run. I was like, no, just get out of here, leave me. But, you know, obviously she doesn't do that. And then Bloody Mary breaks your arm in such a way that your arm bone is sticking out of your skin.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right.
Nope. That's pretty gruesome. And they give you a close-up of it several times, even in the next episode, too.
Yeah, and the entire time it's spurting blood.
Yeah.
Which makes me wonder, just how much blood does a Fable have?
I don't know. Bigby's got a lot. A lot more than he probably should. Because he loses a ton of blood over the course of, like, the 3 days that the story plays out in. And then the episode ends.
Snow White gives up Crane to Bloody Mary, and at this point in my story, I didn't know who she was working for because I didn't go to the Tweedle's office.
Yeah. Anything else to add about episode 3 before we move to episode 4?
Not really.
Okay, episode 4 is titled In Sheep's Clothing, and this picks up just a short time after the end of episode 3. You're back in your apartment.
Yeah, Bigby's ruined his chair.
Yeah, there's just blood
There's
everywhere.
a full blood trail. And Bigby's having this nightmare of Bloody Mary standing over him with the axe. Because to be fair, you know, it would make sense that he'd be afraid of that axe.
Yeah. And the good doctor is stitching you back up.
He's pulling...
he's pulling bullets out, silver bullet fragments out of you.
He's talking about how... Well, since Bigby's a werewolf, technically, or werewolf wolf, or whatever, a wolf were.
Yeah.
The silver is actually highly toxic to him, and if he misses any shards, it would slowly weaken Bigby.
Yep. Then, also, your arm is fucked up, and you set your own arm.
Actually, I failed the prompt. I wasn't able to hammer it quickly enough, and Swineheart's like, well, fine. And just snaps my arm back into place. It's like, it's probably better I did it anyway. That way I wouldn't have to do it again.
Yeah. Okay, so I completed that one, and he was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Should be good enough for now.
I like the whole, I'm starting to do it, but I can't quite snap it into place, and Swineheart just reaches over and snap. It's like, well, it's best I did it anyway. That way I wouldn't have to do it again. It's like, fine. I actually like that, there's little different things for missing a quick time event like that. I kind of like failing that one.
I will edit this together as gracefully as possible, but...
Well, I finished up my thing about... it's kind of cool that failing that QTE has its own little thing that is a small divergence, but it makes sense in the long run.
Right.
And then my internet went kablooey for a moment.
Correctamundo. So, picking up from that point, from after the internet went...
No, it's more... and then it was Skype.
After that, you have to talk to Snow, and she remarks on basically what you did, and
she was highly pissed about me killing Tweedledum.
She wasn't. I didn't feel like she was that upset. I assume we would have gotten roughly the same dialogue.
Maybe it was more disappointed, but then again, there's also this whole thing of earning her trust, and maybe she felt like I betrayed it because I had built up her trust so much.
Maybe. I had also built up a lot of trust with Snow White, too,
well, maybe it wasn't so much pissed, but yeah, highly disappointed.
Yeah, I would say disappointed. I think she felt disappointed. And then my defense was, I mean, they were trying to kill me. And she's like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. More or less. But she...
And to be fair, she did give up Crane rather easily to save me.
She did. But she, says, well, I guess I'm the deputy mayor now. So let's head on down to the office. She also makes a big deal of saying how she wants to be different and how she wants to do things by the book. Mm-hmm. And you can essentially agree with her or disagree with her or be like, well, we'll see.
I pretty much just said, well, you're the boss.
Yeah.
You're still trying to get laid here.
And then Snow says that starting with sending Colin back to the farm, which Colin and Snow obviously had a bit of a fight during that whole bit, which I thought was interesting and played out well. And I mostly took Colin's side.
I didn't really care for Colin. He always came off as someone that Big B didn't like, and I was playing as Big B, not my choices, Big B making them.
Yeah, well, Colin, though, was sticking up for you at that point, and he was basically saying, like, I mean, he was doing what he had to, and he's, his own person, he can make choices and do things, and I'm like, yeah, Colin, that's right, thanks for taking up for me. And then, but then Snow says that non-glamored fables are gonna have to go to the farm, and then she walks out and tells you to
be fair, that was the rule to begin with.
Yeah, but she's like, we're gonna enforce it a lot harder. And Colin then asks you, he's like, are you going to send me to the farm? And I was like, and my response was, no. I think Big B says with my response, well, maybe some fables will have to get sent up, but I wouldn't send you because you're my friend, Colin.
See, mine was rules are rules. I don't make them, just enforce them.
Yeah, and you made the unpopular choice to send Colin to the farm.
Yeah, but I always looked at it like this. He's gone to the farm multiple times. He keeps coming back. He's like a bad rash.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but, my thought was, I didn't like that he was like, you're my friend, but, my thought was like, you just stuck up for me, I'll stick up for you. That was probably one of the points where I was like, I don't like exactly the specific dialogue, but, the sentiment of it was where I was coming from. Do you go to the office first, or do you go talk to Nerissa first?
You go to the office for a bit, I believe, and then you're told that Nerissa is in your office and would only talk to you. Or there was a phone call, one of the two. There was a phone call at the office.
Right.
Like I said, after playing it for a while, things kind of do come together because, and details kind of smush because the story is that tight.
Right.
It doesn't feel like there's a lot of fat on the story, a lot of downtime outside of that one section in the second episode.
Yeah, Nerissa comes to the office. There may have been a phone call, but she said she would only speak to you, and she comes to your office. So you go into your office, and you meet with her, and you talk about stuff.
Not talk, because Nerissa is still under the spell.
Right. But she tells you she wants to talk to you, and she's trying to figure out a way to tell you what you want her to do. And at this point, the story basically outright tells you, like, if you haven't figured it out yet, the ribbons are what keep the girls from talking. They have a magic spell on them, and also if you remove the ribbons, their heads come off and they die.
Yeah, which typically happens whenever your head comes off.
That typically, yeah, but we're dealing with fables here.
True.
We're not 100% clear on what kills them all the time.
Yeah, but it seems like decapitation's been doing really well.
That's fair play. Fair play.
Yeah, and hey, Bloody Mary was going to go test that theory.
Yes, she was. Is it one of the major choices? Did you... Let's see.
It is a
did you
major
attempt
choice.
to remove
No,
Nerissa's ribbon? I did.
Oh.
I mean, I knew in my head, like, what was going on, but playing the Big B character...
I thought Big B being a jerk with Heart of Gold, he would been sympathetic with Nerissa at this point.
Well, he didn't. I played it like I knew, but I played it like Big B figured out that the ribbons were what was keeping the girls from talking, and so he goes to remove it so she could talk, and then it hits him after he's like, "Oh shit, I fucked up," and then I apologized to her for it afterwards. Basically, he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think that one through very well." She's like, "It's okay.
It's all right. Bigby just lost his head out on it.
Hey-o. So, then after that, Snow shows up, and...
Thinks something's going on.
Yeah. Because Bigby and Narissa are standing pretty close to one another.
Yeah, in my playthrough, she has him by the arm. A little scared that people are going to see her there. And I said, oh, it's just Snow.
Yeah. But Snow comes in, and they got a call from Beauty and Beast. And Narissa's like, oh, yep, you should definitely go check that out, Sheriff. Go check it out right now. I'm leaving. And so she leaves. And then you talk to Snow, and she's like, what was that all about? And he's like, oh, I just figured out the ribbons. And she was trying to hint that I should go talk to Beauty and Beast.
Yeah, Narissa just told us what to do next.
Yep. So then you go up, and you talk to Beauty and Beast, and they are having a fight. A relationship fight, not a physical fight. There's lots of those in this game, so I think I should acknowledge that. They're just yelling at each other. And you can stand outside the door and listen, and you can just barge in, or you can knock, or you can call out to them. And I knocked.
Yeah, and Beauty was pissed to see me.
Beauty was really happy to see me. Beast was super pissed to see me. But I had kept Beauty's secret, so she was happy.
Yeah, she was pissed to see me. It's like, well, I didn't call you.
Oh, okay, so that's a little detail that's different, because Beauty called in mine. And Beast was really pissed to see me.
Yeah,
She's like, what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah, she was, well, what are you doing here? I didn't call you. Beast must have called you. And eventually, she opens up the door, and Beast is like, Bigby!
Yeah, really quickly, something that I want to note, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but I started this episode with the money that I had taken from the Tweedle's office.
I didn't.
I know you can get money later in this episode, but I started the episode with money. So I don't know if that has any difference to play in the story.
Okay, well, we're about to find out.
Yeah. But so you talk to Beauty and the Beast, and they, eventually get through to telling you that they were both doing jobs for the Crooked Man, and point you in the direction of a pawn shop and a butcher's shop.
Yeah.
Which, if you know about the packages already, you can tell Beast, like, oh yeah, I found the packages at Tweedle's office. I know about those. Is that where they are?
Yeah, see, because I didn't know about the packages from the Tweedle's office, both options were about equally valid for me.
Yeah. And then after that,
well, there was also, for me, because I pissed off Beauty, she kind of stonewalled me for a while before really getting information in this conversation.
Yeah, Beast did the same thing. The phone rings, and, I didn't let Beast answer it, and it goes to voicemail.
For me, it was Beauty that was trying to answer it.
Okay. So
I guess it's the pissed off character.
Yeah, with whoever's pissed off at you.
I wonder what would happen if you played neutral and just wanted to stay out of it.
I don't know. Good question. I imagine that it would be Beauty who would be pissed off at you in that situation. It could be both of them.
Boy, that would play out differently.
Yeah. But so they give you the ideas of where to go, and then it does one of the little decision things, and you choose where to go first. Did you go to the pawn shop or the butcher shop?
I went to the pawn shop, mostly because I didn't have any direction on which if the packages were important, and since they were being taken out of there, I was hoping that maybe the pawn shop would be receiving them, which they were, but I didn't get to see what was in them.
Yeah, I went to the butcher shop first on my first playthrough, so just to see if anything was different, I went to the pawn shop first on this one. There's not. The only thing that changes is the second location. Get a little bit more information, yeah. The second location is always where you find the mirror shard.
I'll see. Yeah. Okay, so the butcher shop had the mirror shard in my playthrough, so... And your first playthrough was in the pawn shop?
Yeah, it's... whenever you smash... what's-his-face, Jersey, into that cabinet, and it opens, and the axe is in there.
Yeah.
The mirror shard is in there also, if you go to the butcher shop first.
Ah,
and then after the fight, you're like, oh, here's the magic mirror shard. You get it, and then, in the butcher shop, it's inside Ichabod's coat.
Yeah, which that must have been itchy
Yeah.
or scratchy.
The shard's way too big for that pocket. But anyways,
it was a pocket of holding.
It very well could be, actually, given the nature of what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
But anyways, as you leave, Beauty and Beast ask you to take care of your loan take care of their loan with the Crooked Man.
Yeah, I was a little pissed off with them. It's like, wait, you want me to kill him?
Yeah, it was either that or they wanted you to, like, threaten him or pay it off. I'm not 100% sure how you're supposed to do that. Because when you talked to Jack at the pawn shop, I assumed that there would be an interaction to give him the money to take care of their debt, but you can't. So I guess killing him is the only way to do it. But I didn't feel like they were saying you have to kill him. They were just saying, like, figure out a way to clear our debt.
Whenever Bigby asked, wait, take care of it, you want me to kill him?
Oh, I didn't ask. They just said take care of it, and I said I plan on taking care of the Crooked Man or something like that. He's like, I intend to. I think it's what he says. So
yeah, see, for me, because I asked him, what do you mean take care of it? Bigby jumped to killing him, and they were like, no, just... And Bigby gets pissed with him. It's like, well, I'm going to bring justice to him. And who knows, maybe you'll get lucky and it'll clear up your debt as well. And it stomps off.
Right, okay. I just was like, I intend to, and then left. So we both went to the pawn shop first this time, so we'll just go there. So you go to the pawn shop, and Toad is trying to sell the donkey coat, or trying to pawn the donkey coat for some money. He says it's to go get his glamour. I don't believe him. But, there's a little bit of an interaction between him and Jack as he's trying to pawn the coat, and that's pretty funny. Mm-hmm. Just the way that they talk to each other. And for me, I had the option to give Toad money because I had taken Ichabod's money from before. And I actually saved it because I thought that I could give the money to Jack to clear, or at least make a payment on Beauty and Beast's debt.
Okay, now that's interesting. Yeah, well, you'll find out why episode 5.
Okay. So he leaves, and then you talk to Jack and basically threaten him, and you search the store, and you can find lots of little items around that are just references to other things in the story.
Yeah, I stumbled across the axe location before fully searching the store, though.
Yeah, I remembered where the axe was, so I searched all of the things before I went to the axe. I mean, it's just references to different stuff. There's, the anvil from the blacksmith, the Headless Horseman statue's there.
Yeah, which suggests that Jack returned and liberated some more stuff.
Yeah, although the dagger's obviously not bloody in the cabinet. There's a few other odds and ends that refer to other characters. Then you find the axe and you confront Jack, and you're like, I thought you said you wouldn't take anything like that. And there's different ways to threaten him.
I don't work here all the time.
You can just yell at him or try and reason with him or punch him. I punched him in the face.
Yeah, same here.
And about that time...
Low percussive maintenance.
Yeah. About that time, Woody shows up with Jersey, who is the Jersey Devil. And the Jersey Devil's the one who owns, or well, doesn't own. The pawn shop is the Crooked Man's, but the Jersey Devil's the one who runs it and is the front man for it. And they come in, and you start having a conversation with him. And I love how Jack just sort of sneaks out in the background while you guys are talking. And the woodsman's pissed because he wants his axe back.
Yeah, it was actually stolen from his apartment.
Yeah, it was stolen from him. And he wants his axe back. And you're trying to interrogate the Jersey Devil, and he refuses to talk to you, and a fight breaks out.
Oh, there's a shock.
And he transforms into his demon self, which is really, really good
model work
on that. I mean, it's his character model is, it's pretty unsettling. But they did a really good job with making him talk, and I love the voice actor they picked for him. It just fits that character perfectly. I don't know who the voice actor is. I don't know if I've ever heard them in anything else. But the Jersey Devil is one of my favorite characters, just because of the model work, the combination of the really good model work and also the voice actor. But anyways, you get into a fight with the Jersey Devil,
And eventually, throughout the fight, you throw him into like a back room or a closet, and that's where the woodsman's axe is. And the woodsman gets the axe and basically saves you, because, I mean, Bigby's pretty fucked up, and they're still making that be a thing. Like, by the end, it doesn't matter that Bigby's basically just hanging on by glue and duct tape. And the woodsman comes and saves you. You wind up ripping off one of the Jersey Devil's horns. That one was pretty good.
Yeah, and that's lasting damage for a while.
Yeah.
According to this, the voice actor for the Jersey Devil hasn't done anything else.
Okay. Well, he was a good one-off, I guess. Maybe that was, like Steve and
Actually, more Bob.
Bob down in tech support.
No, well, his name is Bobby, so.
Oh, I gotcha. But anyways, once you finish the fight, there's a chance for the Jersey Devil to basically just like goad you and be like, you don't know shit, you don't know what you're getting into, and you can either punch him and shut him up, or you can let him talk. I let him talk. Yeah. I didn't know if he had anything useful to say, but I mean, he's basically just.
Well, I look at it this way: I got a monologuing.
Yeah,
that's Sly Dog.
But then you leave. You and Woody go outside, and you have a quick interaction with Woody, and this is the last time you see him in the story.
Yeah.
And you can, be nice to him or be a dick to him. I gave him a cigarette.
Yeah, I gave him a cig.
Then when he left, I just said, I'll see you around, Woody.
I asked if he was alright, and it's like, yeah, I'm alright.
Yeah, when you say see you around, Woody, he just goes, yeah, I'll see you. And then he walks off with his axe on his shoulder. Never to be seen again. Then you go to the other location, which is the butcher shop, and you poke around, and the butcher's there. Then you have some interaction with him, and he's really not helpful. Turns out he presses a panic button, which, I mean, that's revealed to you as the player before Bigby sees it, but
yeah.
He presses a panic button and basically goes to hide in the back, and everyone who was there leaves, because, he warned them that Bigby was there. And you walk through this giant meat locker. Did you say anything during that? Because you have the chance to
I was quiet the entire time. It seemed dumb to say anything.
Yeah, I was quiet too. But so you go through there and meet, or go back and talk to the cook the butcher, once you get to the back. And there's a couple different ways this can play out. But basically I was nice to him and persuaded him to let me open the back.
Yeah, offered protection.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I offered protection, sent him back to the office, the business office, and then you find the back room where that they've been making the black market glamours, and they've got body parts from other fables. They've got ingredients that came from like the tree that Auntie Greenleaf has.
Yeah, the chains to shackle people down.
Yep. And then you find Ichabod Crane's coat hanging from a meat hook, and I think it's implied that they tortured him.
Yeah, for a bit. Just a little light torture. I mean, he doesn't need both kidneys.
And then you can go through his coat, and there's money in the coat, which you can also take, and I pocketed that money.
Yeah, I took the money. Did it register that you had more money than you did originally? Because for me, I took what was called a lot of money, and that was it.
Yeah, no, it didn't register that I had like 2 stacks of money. I assume that you could give Toad money before at the pawn shop if you had the money from the previous episode, and then get that money, and I don't know if there's anything different you could do with it. I'd have to look that up or replay that chapter.
Well, I pocketed the money, and we're going to find out.
Yeah. And then you find the magic mirror shard, and I think he had a picture in the third pocket. Like, he's got 3 pockets.
Yeah, he had the same picture that was in the glamour tube originally, so it was a copy of the picture of Snow White with her sister, her sister torn off.
But then once you get the mirror shard, or the last shard of the magic mirror, you leave and head back to the business office. And Bluebeard is arguing with Snow, and she's also arguing with Toad. You give the mirror shard to... suddenly I've forgotten his name. Green monkey guy.
Buffkin.
You give him the shard, and he goes about fixing the magic mirror, and then you go talk to Snow, and she talks to Bluebeard, and you talk to Toad, and she's telling you have to tell Toad that he has to go back to the farm. But if you've got the money, you can give Toad the money.
Yeah, see, at this point, because I got the money from Crane's pocket, I was able to give money to Toad.
Yeah, I was also able to give him money. So I gave him the money and told him to go get a glamour.
Yeah, for what that was worth.
And then didn't send him to the farm. Although, he winds up in the truck going back to the farm anyways, in episode 5. At least for me.
Yeah, same here.
Okay, I assumed that...
Basically,
my assumption was that...
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Basically, what I got from it based on what Toad was saying, is that he had the money, but he wasn't able to get it in time, and Snow sent him off anyway.
My assumption was that Toad didn't actually go spend the money on a glamour. He spent it on something else. And then she went and got him. That was just my assumption, because he's a really...
Well, he said that he had the money, so...
Yeah, I know he said that he had the money, but I don't believe him. I think he just wasn't going to get it.
I think
he had the money before.
I think he would, be a lot more honest, since his son was literally on the truck.
Probably, but I don't know. It's been revealed that he's a really shitty dad. He's a real toady. But anyways, after that, the magic mirror is fixed, and you use that to find the Crooked Man's hideout.
Well, we also find out what happened to Crane.
Yep. Crane is being sent to Europe.
Yeah, being put on a plane. And you pretty much say, well, he's going to be out of the picture for a while. Can't get him. And the reason why you need the magic mirror is actually very interesting. The Crooked Man's hideout, you learn from Jack, at least in this playthrough, that it's impossible to find the Crooked Man. He has to find you, because his hideout, the door is a magic door that is constantly jumping to other doors. And you're able to tell which door it is based on the Crooked Man symbol, the wheel, which until in my playthrough, because I didn't go to the Tweedle's office, I didn't learn it was his symbol until the butcher's shop.
Yeah,
and I hadn't even really seen it until the Lucky Pawn.
Yeah, you learn that at the Tweedles if you go to their office. And I think there's a reference to the magic door too, but it's not as explicit. But I'm pretty sure there's like a note that says that.
Anyway, we're told that
whatever.
That the only way Crane was able to deal with the Crooked Man was to use the magic mirror to find the doorway.
Yeah.
And when the mirror is repaired, first of all, you find out about Crane, and because of Bloody Berry's powers, she's able to detect that she's being watched through the magic mirror and cause the magic mirror a little bit of pain.
Yeah.
Because they've had relationship issues.
Yeah. And then he shows you the magic door, and at first you don't recognize it, but then the door moves, and you know where it is.
Yeah, because you can see a small sign next to it talking about Central Park. Granted, that's not a great hint, but maybe, the wolf likes to go play in the park enough.
Yeah, I guess so. So you go to the door, you go through the magic door, and Tiny Tim is there to meet you.
Yeah, not so tiny, though, and I didn't call him Tiny Tim, and he was very appreciative that I left off the tiny part.
Yeah, I also left off the tiny part. Yeah, he's fully grown. And it's not listed as a major choice, but there is the choice to basically be nice to Tim or be a dick to him.
Yeah, because he's a cripple in his story. He no matter what cannot heal his leg, so he's constantly walking with a leg brace on and a crutch. Yeah.
And I chose to be nice to him. I waited for him in the hallway.
Yeah, I was nice to him as well.
I let him be the one who announced me into the Crooked Man's room when you get there.
Yeah, even though I did point out that you're working with murderers here.
Yeah, I also did that. But he's like, no, the Crooked Man takes care of us, and, he's...
Well, to be fair...
He understands us.
Well, to be fair, Tiny Tim is also one of those outcasts that, didn't really find a spot. Even though Tiny Tim could, easily pass as human because, well, he is. It would be tough for him.
Yeah.
So I do understand his plight, but at the same time, it's really shades of gray here. There's no real good no real good here because it's both, either the complete indifference of the government or being exploited by the criminal element because, certain people just are being, overlooked because they're not important enough. Boy, that sounds familiar in modern politics, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little too familiar. But anyway, so he announces you. Well, I mean, you can barge in, or he can announce you, or whatever, into the Crooked Man's sort of, I don't know, dealing room or office or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hostile environment with, well, at least one Tweedle there. The Jersey Devil, Georgie Porgy, who hasn't really played a part that much up until this point. You encountered him before, but that was about it.
Yeah.
You hadn't been back to this place in a while. But, you knew that he was dealing with them, he was too deep in. So it was pretty much expected that he would be there. And, of course, the Crooked Man, he has that eye thing going on.
Yeah, I think it's just a nursery rhyme. Mm-hmm. Hang on, let me pull this up.
Yeah, it is. The Crooked Man in a Crooked House.
Yeah. So this is just a nursery rhyme. But he walks with a cane, so I assume he's like crippled. Maybe that's why they call him the Crooked Man, and he walks with a cane.
Yeah, well,
not 100% sure, but his eyes fucked up.
Yeah, his eyes fucked up, and the reason of the symbol is that it's a torture device, and it breaks people's bones and makes them crooked.
Yeah.
And that's something that you learn at the butchery if you hadn't at the Tweedles, I'm assuming.
Yeah. But then, so you go inside, and the Crooked Man is like, we should talk. And you have like one choice that's the last thing in the episode.
And this is considered an important choice.
Yeah, you can try and arrest him, you can agree to talk to him, you can just smoke, or you can threaten him.
I just smoked.
I agreed to talk with him, which he goes, let's talk, and then he smokes. So like, okay, I might as well just pick smoke then.
Well, I looked at it this way. I was going to smoke anyway. May as well.
Yeah.
And actually, it was an interesting reason why Bigby's a chain smoker. This was something that I saw pointed out in a little bit of extra lore. He does it to dull his senses. Because he's a wolf, it's just sensory overload.
That makes sense. Speaking of him smoking, it's all the way back in episode 2. Whenever you go to whatever the hotel is, there's a Coke machine. Well, I mean a soda machine there. And if you walk up to it and interact with it, he goes, this stuff will kill you. And he pulls out a cigarette and starts smoking.
Oh.
I had a good chuckle at that. But yeah, that's the end of episode 4. Yeah, anything to add?
It was very kinetic. There wasn't a lot of decision making in this one.
No, this one was very fast paced. Just going from point to point. That probably has to do with how these episodes were released. Way back when this game was first released, episodes 1, 2, and 3 came out on schedule. And then there was a big fucking delay before episodes 4 and 5 came out. And supposedly they were having some internal issues and it didn't get worked on. I mean, this is all, as far as I know, hearsay. Like, nothing was ever confirmed. But allegedly they had a lot of issues with getting this episode out. And particularly episode 4 was rushed in terms of, like, the gameplay elements and things. And
yeah,
I
did notice that my animation bugs popped up a couple more times in this than the others. Granted, I saw it, in pretty much all of them, except for one, but I thought I saw it, but wasn't sure.
Yeah, but there was a lot less work that went into episode 4. Like, they had the story written, so they went ahead and did everything for the story, but there's less choices in episode 4 compared to other episodes, just because there were some problems.
Yeah, and honestly...
Allegedly.
Yeah, and honestly, your choices really didn't matter here at all.
No.
I mean, sending Colin to the farm, well, that's hardly new to him. Doris's ribbon, that's not going to change things, really. Because you can't do anything there.
Yeah, you can't actually pull it out.
Yeah.
Or pull it off.
The Lucky Pawn or Butcher Shop first, that doesn't matter. It just changes where the magic mirror shard was.
Yep.
Light a cigarette. Okay, that one matters. Because then you get to look like a badass.
I know that there's some differences in dialogue based on how you've handled things up to the final room. Like, obviously, if you didn't kill Tweedledum, he'll be there, and he has something to say.
Yeah, well, Tweedledum didn't really talk that much anyway, so...
No, but if you did kill him, the Jersey Devil has something extra that he says to you, which, I mean, obviously we heard, but, like, I'm just on the wiki page reading that stuff right here at the bottom. Because I killed Tweedledum in both playthroughs.
Well, I think you would be dumb not to. Too much?
Nope. Spot on.
Okay.
So, moving on to the final episode, episode 5, Cry Wolf. This episode picks up
immediately
right after, immediately after the end of episode 4, and you have a good old conversation with the Crooked Man.
He basically wants to buy you out.
Yeah, he's trying to buy you out, and I suspect that you can't actually be bought out no matter what happens, but I was just like, fuck you.
Well, the thing is, I realized that no matter, what I said, and even if I agreed to being bought out, he was going to double cross me anyway eventually, just because of what happened. Because we find out that Georgie was behind the prostitute murders.
Yep.
And allegedly under the Crooked Man's direct order, and the Crooked Man said, No, you just simply misunderstood my directive.
Yeah. So...
And he wants to take care of it internally.
Yeah. Which basically means nothing will happen. Probably.
Or he'll just kill Georgie.
He might, and then replace him with somebody else.
And I said, no, I'm taking you both in.
Did you make a guess at who had actually done the murders? Because there's a couple ways that dialogue can actually play out. The Crooked Man can ask you who did it.
I just said, well, okay, who did it? Because I wasn't sure at this point. I knew the Crooked Man was behind it, but he didn't seem the type to get his hands dirty. And there was more than a couple options. I mean, the Jersey Devil, the Tweedles, or Tweedle, and of course Georgie. I wasn't sure who.
Yeah. I mean, you find out that it was Georgie who was the one that actually pulled the ribbons on the girls. Or did he?
There's
something interesting related to another character with that. But anyways, the Crooked Man does say that Georgie did it, regardless of who you say. If you get it right, they're like, well done, you're a good detective. If you get it wrong, they're just like, no, it's not who you think it is. It doesn't really matter. Just you can guess differently. But eventually, the Crooked Man is like, well, I see that this isn't going to go the way that I want it to, and the Jersey Devil and the remaining Tweedle, or both Tweedles if they're both there, and Georgie all fight you. And do you go Teen Wolf, or
you go Teen Wolf?
Okay, you go Teen Wolf, and you beat all of them, except for Bloody Mary, who the Crooked Man is like, oh, come get me out of this. So she comes out of a mirror and takes him away. Georgie gets stabbed in the stomach during the process of this, and it seems like he's going to die. And what was her name? Vivian?
Yeah, Vivian.
She gets him and runs to the portal with him, trying to get him to safety.
Yeah, during the fight, this giant, I guess stained glass window, they're in like some sort of church or something. Gets broken, revealing the portal, or a portal like you stepped through at the end of episode 4. So you're chasing through and grab or go after them after dealing with the underlings.
Yeah.
Stab the Jersey Devil again as well, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, he does. So then you chase after them, and as you go through the portal, you see Georgie and Vivian leaving in a car, and I can't remember if the Crooked Man's limo was in this scene or not.
Yeah, it was.
But you do see the Crooked Man's... Okay, but you definitely see the Crooked Man's limo later. You go full werewolf, and there's a QTE as you run through the streets and across building tops chasing the cars.
Yeah, definitely not being conspicuous here.
Yeah. And then you have the option which car to jump on, either Georgie's car or the limo. it doesn't really make a difference. It forces you to go to Georgie's place first.
Yeah, see,
but
I tried to go for the Crooked Band's limo, but it was closer to the edge of the screen, and it went to Georgie's car. I'm not sure if that was being forced or...
No, you can actually jump on the limo, but if you jump on the limo, Bloody Mary is able to knock you off of it. And you're like, well, shit. Hopefully Georgie went to his club. So then you go to the club. So regardless, you wind up at the pudding.
All right, so I landed on Georgie's car and, went for a ride.
Yep. You get to the pudding and pie, and everybody goes inside. And then obviously, if you take the limo path, you show up at the pudding and pie a little bit later, but the scene plays out exactly the same. Georgie and Vivian are inside.
Yeah, Georgie is in a bad state because he got disemboweled.
Yeah.
And Georgie's not strong enough to survive that.
Yeah.
Or who knows, maybe that would be a fatal wound anyway. It's a little hard to tell with these guys.
Yeah. I figured that if they'd gotten the doc, he would have been okay, but you don't get the choice to call the doc at the end of it, no matter what you do. But you get into these interactions with Georgie and Vivian.
And a lot of information gets revealed here, particularly who's behind all the ribbons. It's not Georgie, it's Vivian.
Yeah, it's Vivian. She's the original ribbon.
Yeah, her story is about having a ribbon but not be able to talk about it. And if she removes it, she loses her head. Literally.
Yeah.
And they used the power of her ribbon to make copies and tied it to her ribbon as a act of discretion for their clients. And originally it was just a gimmick. Just to get people in the door because, it's a strip club. There's tits.
Right.
Fables don't want to be R-rated. They want to be PG-rated. So they don't want people to talk about them being there. So their discretion as our guarantee became a little bit of a gimmick. But then the Crooked Band came in and took them over and corrupted it.
Yep. And you're given the choice to take Vivian's ribbon off yourself, but no matter what you do, she stops you and
she commits
does it
suicide
herself.
Did
you try and take her ribbon off?
No, I said no. We could find another way. Maybe we could take you to the 13th floor, which is where all the witches that work for the Woodland or for Fabletown are located, and that's where we ended up sending Andy Greenleaf to work. Bigby was hoping that maybe they could find a way to break the spell, but she said, "No, this is the only way. If I remove my ribbon, everyone else is able. The spell is broken on all the other ribbons. Removes the ribbon, her head flies off. She's dead."
Yeah, I tried to pull it myself, because Georgie's like, you don't have the guts to make a hard decision like that. And I was like, fuck you, Georgie, yes I do. And I went to go pull it off, and she's like, no, I'm tired of people telling me what to do and how to live my life and what I can and can't do.
I'm a strong, independent woman for the next 5 seconds.
She was like, I was always going to make this decision at some point, and I guess now's the time. And then she pulls the ring. And Georgie's very sad because she died. And it's implied that they had a bit of a love story, or that they were at least more than just more than just Georgie was her boss.
And it said that in some point that Vivian never did any of the dirty work, the prostitution. So it's strongly implied that she was favored by Georgie, which makes me think that he was in love with her, and at least to some degree. And then Georgie's laying there on the floor. Yeah, very graphically, his guts hanging out.
Oh, yeah. And he says that he's going to die no matter what. And he's like, you want to kill me, don't you? Go ahead and kill me. And you can resist it first. And he's like, no, he's essentially like, put me out of my misery, make it quick. And then you can choose whether or not to kill Georgie or leave him to die on his own.
I left the prick.
I killed him.
It's rather sad because I wasn't sure which was considered the good choice here. I mean, honestly, they both suck. But I was playing Bigby as he killed Tweedledum out of in a point of weakness, and he didn't want to have more blood on his hands, even though he did stab Georgie.
Yeah. I played it as a mercy killing.
Mm-hmm.
Bigby knows he's going to die, and he can either leave him to suffer, or he can just go ahead and put him out of his misery.
It's a shame that they didn't mention the doctor at any point.
Yeah, because I feel like the doctor could have probably saved him.
Even if they just said, Bigby talked about getting Dr. Swanhart and Georgie Porgy saying, well, no, I don't have enough time. I'm fading here. But leave him to bleed out. It's just ice cold. A lot colder than I was expecting Bigby to be. He slowly walks out, turns off the lights, and locks the door.
Oh, no, that if you kill him, you pull his guts the rest of the way out if you kill him.
Damn.
And then
Here I was
you just
expecting
turn
you to
around and
snap
leave.
his neck or something.
That's what I thought he was going to do, too, because the first time I played, I left him to live. So I killed him this time. And he pulls his guts the rest of the way out and throws them on the floor. And then he leaves. I mean, it's inconsequential. It's determined that Georgie dies, and the Crooked Man later is like, oh, Georgie's dead, isn't he? But then it never comes up again. No one questions it.
Yeah, I was also assuming that Snow would be highly pissed if I killed him.
Yeah, Snow doesn't say anything about it either. So after that, Georgie tells you where to go, because he wants you to get revenge, because the Crooked Man sold him out.
Yeah, he wants to take the Crooked Man down with him.
So he sends you to a warehouse, and you go to the warehouse, and as you walk inside, Bloody Mary is like taunting you from somewhere, you don't know where.
Yeah, she's able to teleport, it turns out.
Yeah, you see some photos of Faith and Nerissa
and actually
Snow
you as well,
and yourself. Yeah, and then you find the rack thing, the torture rack, and I forget where it is. You walk into a room, and Bloody Mary appears behind you, and the Crooked Man walks in, and you talk for a minute, and then he leaves. And, he's like, come find me after you kill him. And she's like, oh, this is gonna be fun. And
yeah, the entire time she's taunting about how you're so big and bad, everybody was scared of you, but not anymore.
Yeah, and you go through this sort of horror style.
Yeah, I mean, this was
set of QTEs.
Yeah, this was really unnerving, and a lot of them were very twitch. Just split second.
Yeah, like you're wandering around trying to find her.
Yeah, I was able to do this without dying, but part of me was wondering if there was a fail state here, and it turns out I guess there is.
Yeah, the first time I played through it, I missed all of the Twitch QTEs.
Yeah, I missed a couple, but then I started really watching, and I was able to grab a couple, and I guess that prevented me from dying from 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, basically that's what happens.
Yeah, don't do that.
That was an accident. Sorry.
Well, that's a lot of static. That buzz. But she's also able to copy herself. I guess mirrors. I don't know.
Yeah.
But she turns into this horrific beast. With mirror shards sticking out of her. And then you start. Mr. Anderson.
But yeah, she comes after you, and you're in werewolf form at first.
Yeah,
fighting her off, and then she kind of pins you down.
Yeah, she's
about to kill
more
you.
And more Bloody Marys, or just everywhere. There had to be probably 100 of them total.
Yeah, and then you go Big Bad Wolf.
Yeah,
full Big Bad Wolf.
Which
and you
it was
turn into a
cool
giant
to
wolf.
Yeah, it was cool to finally see Big Bad Wolf, because I was a little disappointed up to this point, because I wasn't sure Big Bad Wolf was he's kind of a werewolf, I guess. You never saw him just go full out, but you finally see him to go full out.
It's a great reveal too. Like, they did a good job, I think, keeping it until the last chapter.
Yeah, and they also
the last episode.
Well, whenever they do a transformation with him, they never have it on screen. They always cut away, mostly probably to save budget, because having a character go from one phase to another, it is very intensive to do a lot of in between modeling. And with how Telltale's animations have been for me. I can only imagine how buggy that would have been.
Yeah, there's one scene where you get to see his arm get really hairy. That's the only transformation you get to see on screen. Otherwise,
even then, it's already hairy when it cuts to it.
Yeah.
So that doesn't even count. You never see the actual, from one to another. It's always, you see it in bits and parts, or you see the complete transformation to one stage. You see his arms start to get hairy. The biggest transformation you really see is his teeth start to grow and his eyes glow. But even then, that's only a small thing. It's always, you see the complete stage, not the in-between.
Yeah.
So you finally get Big Bad Wolf, and he just starts annihilating all the copies of Bloody Mary.
Yeah, he crushes some of them. He eats some of them. At one point, he uses his
Huff and Puff.
His Huff and Puff power, and blows a bunch of them into the wall, and they shatter.
Yeah.
And then finally, you get down to the last one.
Yeah,
which
there's
is the original Bloody Mary.
Yeah, there's one that is avoiding the fight and trying to stay away. It's obvious. That's the original.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get her, and she's dodging, scratches him a couple times.
Yeah, and she does one last attempt. Like, she pulls a giant glass shard out of her head and jumps at him and tries to kill him.
Yeah, why would you keep the glass shard there?
I don't know. But he grabs her out of midair and crushes her in his mouth, and then transforms back to regular old Bigby.
Yeah, there is something I wanted to ask you a question on. Just how many times has Bigby stolen clothes in this game?
I don't know.
Because every time he goes into a transformation, beyond...
Except for Teen Wolf.
Not even Teen... getting past, glowy eyes and hairy arms, going past that, he loses his shirt, and it's implied that, it just rips off of him. Every time he's able to find a shirt that's exactly his size, a white shirt with a black tie.
With the tie, yeah.
I mean, every single time. I mean, granted, this time it's implied that I'm guessing the Crooked Man threw the clothes down. It's like, I don't want to negotiate with you while you're naked. I don't want to, see the little wolf.
Well, one time, when the dog's patching him up one time, he gets clothes from his apartment.
Yeah.
And one time he gets clothes from the office. But yeah, every other time...
Yeah, there's
he just finds
roof.
clothes somewhere.
It's like, okay, is there some sort of clothes fairy falling around?
His fairy godmother. Bippity boppity boo. A white shirt and black tie for you.
And that you just heard was the magic mirror grunting at that rhyme. Even the magic mirror has taste.
Oh. But, so after that, he goes up to the office where the Crooked Man is. And the Crooked Man's got a gun with silver bullets in it. And if you try and if you just wait, you'll keep talking, but you have the opportunity to try and take the gun away from him or knock it down. And he shoots a bullet, into the ground or the ceiling or something. And it's just like, next time I won't miss. And then you have a conversation with the Crooked Man. And you can choose, ultimately it comes down to, you can bring him in for a trial, or you can kill him right then and there. And then if you bring him in for the trial, there's something about him having the gun, but you can just take it away from him. Because basically, during the conversation, you back him into the corner, and you're right next to him, and you can get the gun without him having a chance to shoot it.
Yeah, this is something that really puzzled me. Maybe it's the fact that I won the trial. Is that, why does he want to have a trial all of a sudden?
Well, because you can lose the trial. If you've made essentially poor choices throughout, or even if you made good choices, essentially, and you get to the trial, if you do a really shit job prosecuting him, he can actually win over the crowd.
Yeah, see, that's why it was a little bit of a head scratcher for me, because it didn't really make sense. I wasn't sure if I could lose the trial or not.
Yeah. So when you lose the trial, just to skip ahead just a little bit, and then we'll go back. Mm-hmm. If you lose the trial, it takes away the option to imprison him. So he still is gone, but if you lose the trial, you can't imprison him. You either have to throw him down the witching well, or you have to kill him by brutally ripping his head off.
So pretty much no change.
Well, if you imprison him... Did you imprison him?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, relativistically to the end of the story, aside from how characters perceive you, no, there's no change. But if you lose the trial, you have to kill him.
Yeah, that's just why, I was a little head scratcher with the trial, especially since it's been implied that it's essentially a kangaroo court, and it's whatever the government wants. Granted, this is Snow White in charge now, so maybe he's counting on her to be more lenient. But even then, that seems so odd.
Yeah,
that's probably my weakest part of the story, is that it doesn't really make a lot of sense for the Crooked Man to trust getting a fair trial or even be able to really talk.
Yeah,
it seems out of character to him. He's always been in control. You would think that he would try to negotiate a little bit more.
Yeah. So I've brought him back for the trial both times, so I don't actually know what happens if you kill him and
I imagine Snow would be
go
pissed.
back without him. Probably. There are quite a few characters who want him to die anyways, so they're probably okay if you kill him, but I'd say Snow would be really pissed at you. But you bring him back for the trial, which is the decision that we went with, and you have a very long interaction where lots of people are talking, and you get lots of chances to make conversational choices which direct whether or not the crowd is on your side or the Crooked Man's side. And all of that's a combination of the choices that you made, making characters more happy with the new government's decisions or pissed off at them and wanting to stick up for the Crooked Man. And then how well you do with actually responding to the Crooked Man. Because, basically, if you're just like a huge dick to him or don't say anything, unless you made all the right choices, you wind up losing enough of the crowd support that you can't do the prison option. But if you made plenty of the correct choices, quote unquote, and do a good job actually talking to him and having these interactions, you win the crowd support. They all take your side. And he's like, "Oh, good job, you did it, except I didn't actually do any of these crimes. As you said, all of my underlings did these crimes." Which in real life is bullshit. You can get crime bosses on lots of things, even if they don't do any of the actual crimes themselves. So he would still wind up guilty in a real court.
Well, he pointed out the parallel between himself and the Fabletown government by pointing out that Bigby killed Tweedledum.
Yeah.
And not quite the same. That's self-defense.
Yeah, and Grin and someone else say that, that was self-defense, though. They were trying to kill him.
Yeah.
And you get by on that one. Although they might not defend you if you just really pissed them off and weren't nice to them. I don't know.
Yeah, see, they really stick up for me, but at the same time, then there's the parallel. That's an internal matter. And the Crooked Man's like, where have I heard that one before?
Yeah.
And then Narissa shows up.
Yes, then Narissa shows up.
It says that she was in the room when the order was given.
Right.
Because he was trying to get himself off on the technicality that there was no evidence.
Right. And she provides eyewitness testimony that he actually was the one who gave the order to have it all done. And everyone's like, "Oh, yes, absolutely. Then we have enough to convict him."
Then
you have to choose between three options: throwing him down the witching well, imprisoning him, which you later find out means that Auntie Greenleaf turns him into a crow,
or just pop his head off.
Or you just pop his head off and kill him right there.
And at first I hit throw him down the well, and immediately he throws his handcuffs around your neck and tries to drag you down the well with him.
Yeah, he does that no matter what.
Yeah, which once again, why is he doing this? Trying to throw himself down the well?
I think he's trying, you wind up, he obviously you're going to overpower him, and he gets you over to the well, and you get free of him, and you hold him over the well, and he's like, "Yes, do it. Show them how terrible you are. Throw me down the well.
Show me the big bad wolf."
Yeah, but it's like, that's literally what we were probably going to do anyways. So that doesn't do anything. That was your sentence that was issued to you to be carried out initially.
Yeah, then, the reason why Bigby's making this choice anyway is that officially he's the only actually appointed official there.
Right.
Because Snow White is still acting.
Yeah, she just took over for Ichabod. So
and the mayor isn't even there, King Cole.
Yeah.
The jolly old soul.
And then you get the final choice. You can throw him down the well.
Well, after seeing him want the well, I decided to imprison him.
Yeah. I was gonna throw him down the well because the first time I imprisoned him, and then I got to that scene and I had the exact same thought. Like, you want me to throw you down the well? Fuck you! I'm gonna imprison you.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, why Bigby would bring him in the first place. Outside of, maybe if I bring him in, I could get laid.
Yeah. Very quickly looking through the summary here on the wiki to see what happens if you throw him down the well.
Probably nothing. This feels like a false choice, really.
Yeah.
Or maybe teasing something that isn't, because the well is kind of the traditional punishment for major infractions. So them introducing the imprisonment is Snow White trying to be a kinder government.
Yeah, so it looks like if you throw him down the well, there's no difference aside from you obviously don't get the scene where Auntie Greenleaf comes and shows you his cage. If you rip his head off brutally in front of everyone, that scene where you walk past the line of fables outside the business office, they all look scared of you.
Well, can't blame them there.
It looks like your interaction at the very end with Nerissa is different too if you killed him right then, because she's proud of you for being essentially the better person if you either throw him down the well or imprison him, but she's worried you're going to be just as brutal as he was if you ripped his head off. So
essentially a late 11th hour choice for a lot of story.
Yeah. So anyways, regardless, however you deal with
Annie Greenleaf does say that she removed the tongue because he had a sharp one.
Yeah. Which I chuckled at that. But then after that, you go through basically the ending. You have a little chat with Snow, and then
who is way too busy to let a dog bury a bone.
Yes. Does Colin? I assume Colin doesn't walk past you in the hallway if you chose to send him to the farm.
No, he doesn't. He's in the truck already.
Okay, so in the hallway, he's got a 6-pack of beer, and he winks at you, and then walks towards your apartment. If you chose to let him stay, and then you go outside, and you have a brief conversation with Flycatcher. Which I guess this was...
Yeah, this is where the game bugged out a little bit. Yeah, see? Bugged out. But the only major line I would have had from Flycatcher didn't play.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like, oh, hey, Bigby, thanks for the job. And you're like, here, you forgot your keys. And he's like, oh, man, thanks.
Yeah, so Flycatcher got the job anyway.
Oh, okay. So does he go
he's the truck driver.
I guess if you don't offer him the job, he probably goes and talks to Snow White and gets the job that way.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
But then you talk to Toad and TJ in the truck, and Toad's pissed, and I basically was like, oh, you should have bought your glamour.
Yeah, pretty much that was my take on it as well, particularly since I gave him the money and he had time.
Yep. And then for me, there's a line about, I guess if I was better friends with you, I wouldn't have to go, would I?
Ooh.
Because I let Colin stay.
Yeah, see, I didn't get that.
I didn't respond to that. I chose to smoke. And then TJ talks to you, and he offers a present for Snow White, and it's one of his bugs.
Yeah, it's our second to last major choice, and I accepted TJ's gift for Snow, which 98.5%. So there's a very small percentage of assholes out there.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, though, what's the interaction?
I don't know. I was tempted, because, I mean, I took the gift the first time. I was tempted to say no, just to see what it would be. Yeah,
especially seeing that percentage.
But I chose not to, because Bigby wouldn't do that. My Bigby wouldn't do that.
And then you see Nerissa across the street.
Yep.
As it starts to rain.
Yep.
And you have
so he walks...
you have a small interaction with her, and this is really the last scene of the game.
Yep, and she repeats some of the lines.
Well, first of all, there's some other things before. First of all, she reveals that she lied.
Yeah. She lied
indirectly.
about...
She didn't mean to let him know, but she talked about how she was in the club when Faith came in, and Georgie took Faith's ribbon off, and why Georgie did it is that they were staging essentially a rebellion, trying to get out, and they figured out a way to do it, to steal the photo that you found of Crane with Snow White, and sarcasm quotes there. And she got scared. Was it Faith or Lily that grabbed the picture? One of them did it. And she got scared because she figured that them having physical evidence would draw too much attention from the Crooked Man, and that trying to deal with the Crooked Man wouldn't be the same as Georgie. So she confessed to Georgie that they stole a photo and begged forgiveness from Georgie, assuming that he had some sort of heart, which Bigby could have tried to find when he was pulling his guts out. I mean, would have been he was in the neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
but Georgie told the Crooked Man. The Crooked Man gave the order to silence two of the three. It's not explained why Narissa got away. No, really, because that one doesn't make much sense either when I really think about it, because maybe the Crooked Man was seeing Narissa as, being under his thumb more.
Yeah, that's what I thought was implied, like, because she was, quote unquote loyal and snitched on the others, that he let her live because...
And also because her conscience would have those two deaths on it. And it also comes all the way back around to the first episode, when you found a small patch of ripped cloth. Well, it turns out it was from her jeans. She left at least one of the heads, probably both, to be honest, even though Lily's head isn't really explained. How it got there, but it's implied that she left at least she said Faith's, but at least Lily's is likely as well. And considering Bigby was talking about how it was lovingly placed there, it makes a lot of sense. Essentially, she's trying to set Bigby on the path, and then the lines are repeated from the first episode that Mr. Wolf, you're not as bad as everybody thinks you are.
Yep.
Which makes me think one of two things. Either we never interacted with Narissa to begin with, it was Faith the entire time, and we dealt with a fake Faith that was dead. And that has credence in two ways, really. One, it fits Faith's story to begin with. Her fable that she escaped under a cloak, glamour in this case. And originally, when Lily's bodies remained glamored until the tube was opened. Well, if the tube was on Faith's body, that we never found, by the way, and remained intact, then Faith's head would have remained, as Faith. And granted, Ichabod probably threw the head down the well pretty soon thereafter anyway.
Yeah.
The other way is that, we interacted with Narissa as Faith. It gets confusing, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then we interact with Narissa as Faith at the beginning, and
they
she
trade
was glamored.
Yeah.
And then they trade, and then Faith actually gets killed.
Yeah, and they said in the club in episode 2 that they often cover for one another.
Yeah. So, I took it as the second way. I thought the first one was a possibility, but it seemed to make more sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense the
second
second way,
one.
But thematically, especially with how Faith's story played out, it makes a lot more sense the first way with that. So, who knows?
It could be either one. But you see some flashes as, flashbacks as Bigby recalls these conversations and things. And then it gives you your final choice whether or not to go after Narissa or to just leave her be.
Well, the important choice before that, it was your final words to Narissa.
Oh, right. Yeah. What were your final words to Narissa?
I hope I've done some good here.
Mine were as well.
Which was over half the people that said that.
Yeah.
So,
and then you could choose to go after her or not, which I figured. She's finally free. Granted, she does keep the ribbon on, but I imagine that's more of a psychological thing. And I imagine, you will have words about that.
yeah. Well, I mean, I also tried to remove the ribbon.
I didn't.
Okay.
I figured, she'll remove it in time.
Yeah, I tried to remove it, and she doesn't really get upset at you if you try. She's just like, I know you're trying to help me, but this is something I have to do when I'm ready. And, you're basically like, okay, that makes sense. I'll leave it be then.
Yeah, no, you don't say that. You just sit there and smoke.
But yeah, I've done both. The first time I played through, I followed her. And this time I played through, I let her be. I mean, it just cuts to black after each one. Just if you choose to follow her, Bigby starts walking down the street after her. And it looks like he's about to start running, and then the screen cuts to black.
Oh, what a tease.
Yeah.
I can see why people really wanted season 2 then.
Yeah. But this time,
do you think season 2 would carry on with this story, or do you think it'd be another story? This does wrap up fairly nicely, except for that one last mystery, which...
Yeah, it's got a hook for potentially a sequel. I mean, I imagine they would have to pick up, maybe not exactly right after that point, but that would be the story there. That would somehow tie into the story of the next one. I mean, we'll find out. It's supposed to be coming out this year, right? Season 2?
Yeah, granted, I won't pick it up until it's done.
I won't pick it up till it's done either, but hopefully it'll actually be
out, you don't pick up Telltale before they're done.
No. And that's it. That's the game. You get a quick little recap of all of the minor choices that you made. Well, not all, but some of the more minor choices that you made, which you said you didn't take notes of. I did, but we've pretty much brought all of those up as we've went.
Yeah.
And
who you killed.
It. That's how the game ends.
Yeah, it turns out Bigby just sits there and smokes.
Yep. I love how they keep making fun of his cigarettes too. But I like that they're called Huff and Puff.
Yeah, cheap ass brand.
But yeah, I like how that's a reference to Huff and Puff and Blow Your House Down. Mm-hmm. That's cute. There were other little references too. You said there was some Telltale stuff.
I
in
missed. The lounge at one point. There's the Sam and Max theme that's from Poker Night at the Inventory that I noticed.
Okay.
There was a bottle of Benang, which was from Sam and Max. I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was it in Ichabod's car? I remember reading about that one. I didn't see it myself.
I don't know. I don't think I saw any of the references to Sam and Max or anything like that.
Of course, the Yellow Brick Roadhouse.
Yep, I saw that. There's lots of references to things on the various houses and shops. I thought that was pretty cute. Then there was, the magic lamp from Aladdin that's in Ichabod Crane's place, and there's some stuff in the pawn shop that's references to other things. There's a reference to the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. Obviously, you go to the butcher, but
they said he's on the same block.
Yeah,
which was funny. Let's see. I'm just seeing if there's any major ones.
Somebody calls Red Riding Hood a slut. I don't remember who it is. I think it's Holly at one point.
I wonder if that would be Bigby as well.
I don't know.
Would that be?
Maybe.
Would that be the same wolf?
Yeah, it's the same wolf. There's some stuff in the Tweedle's office that's little references beyond just the folders that talk about Cinderella and their fables. So there's lots of little references to other things. There's probably some direct references to the comic books that I don't get because I haven't read enough of them. But other than that, I mean, they're not like too in your face. They're just little things. It's like, oh, I noticed this. That's nice. Nice little Easter eggs. But
yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said at the beginning, like many hours ago, Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, I would say about 3 at this point.
Wolf Among Us is up there at either 1 or 2 for the Telltale games for me. I mean, it's 1 right now because it's the most recent one that I've played. But I mean, it's an excellent story, great game, lovely art style, good soundtrack. We didn't really talk about the soundtrack, but the soundtrack is very pulpy, very noir feeling.
Also, a bit of like 80s style sort of
Yeah,
techno in there too.
Yeah, it's set in the 80s.
Because the story takes place in the 80s.
Yeah, late 80s. I mean, Georgie Porgy's phone.
Yeah, the giant cordless phone that's like as big as his head.
Uh-huh.
All of the cars very clearly 70s and 80s body styles on those.
Yeah, I wonder if Georgie Porgy has to worry about cancer from all the radiation coming off that thing. Well, I guess not anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's just an excellent game, top to bottom, start to finish. Aside from Telltale's usual issues when it comes to their engine and technical problems, which not too bad.
The fact that I had a line that didn't play.
Yeah.
I mean, the animation things, it's one of those things that if I wasn't watching for it after noticing it once, I probably could have missed most of them.
Yeah.
But, that line not playing was definitely, not a good sign. I'm just glad it was at the very end of the game. And it was a inconsequential line, you know?
This is like a perfect bugless game compared to Game of Thrones. Jesus. Game of Thrones is probably the worst one they've ever done. Because they tried to take their engine, which does not do photorealism well, and make it look realistic because, obviously, the TV show. And boy, was it a mess.
Yeah, but at least there's tits, right?
There were some tits, but they don't look very good, honestly.
Oh, so you'd rather have the Wolf Among Us tits?
Yeah. Actually, the Wolf Among Us tits look better. Because they're kind of artistic and, have that sort of comic page look to it. Instead of just being, like, square.
I didn't know there was tits in Minecraft story mode.
Hey-oh. Yeah. Any sort of final thoughts or generalizations that we didn't cover, or anything you want to
I'm not sure. I'm looking forward to the second season. I won't pick it up right away because Telltale. And I do hope that they sit down and actually polish their engine or move on to something else, because that would be nice.
Yeah. Does this make you want to play any of the other Telltale games? The hook for most of them is you have to be into the thing that the story's about.
Yeah, and that's the problem, is that most of their modern stuff I'm not really into. Batman looks interesting, but the first season had some severe performance problems.
Yeah.
And supposedly that's better in season 2, but you're missing out on a good chunk of the story.
Yeah. I would suggest to you Borderlands. I know you don't really care much for the Borderlands shooters anymore, but the Borderlands universe and art style are perfect for Telltale. And like I said earlier, the Borderlands Telltale adventure is one of my top 2, alongside Wolf Among Us. So the production value is just as good. The story is from what I remember, just about as tight as the Wolf Among Us. And it's nice to see that universe from a different angle besides just kill all the things and loot all the stuff.
And memes. Don't forget the memes.
Yeah. So, I mean, right now it's not on sale, but I mean, Tales from the Borderlands goes on sale every time there's a sale. So, I've got it both on Steam. I think I paid $8 or $9 for it. And then I also have it on Xbox because it was one of the quote-unquote free games at one point.
Yeah, free games as long as you buy in.
Yeah.
That never made sense to me. People defending the paid subscription because you get free games. Well, guess what? I get free games as well. Thanks, Humble Bundle.
Right. But
and Obama.
Thanks, Obama. I don't think I have anything else to add. I mean, one of the things about going through the entire game step by step is that we talk about pretty much everything along the way. So, yeah, I mean, definitely my earlier recommendation still stands. Buy this game.
Yeah, supposedly I was doing a quick search, and it looks like Season 2 is not going to be a continuation. They consider this an ambiguous ending, and they want to leave it at that.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can
respect that.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, that's also a noir thing.
Yeah.
And I actually really like the fact that they won't give us a direct answer, at least maybe right away. Maybe we'll find out down the line.
Yeah. It also might be answered in the comics as well.
this might be a thread, since this was a prequel, and at the time of release, I think the first, 70 or 80 issues were out. This might be something that they did in the comics.
Yeah, because right at the end, they do have a pretty big ad-up for the comics.
Yeah. So, I think we're done here. Go play this game if you haven't already.
Granted, we probably spoiled it a little bit.
Yeah, we spoiled it a little bit. But I mean, we left out lots of little details because we would be here for literally 10 hours if we tried to talk about everything. We hit all the high points and went sort of beat by beat, but there's stuff that we missed.
Plus, it would require a lot more extensive notes.
Yeah. And now you can also have your own adventure, make different choices, and see all of the witty dialogue and jokes and things like that.
Yeah, the deadpan snarker that is Big B Wolf.
Yep. So, if you haven't already, pick this game up next time it's on sale. Play through it. It's definitely worth your time. And speaking of time, I think it's time to move on to the next topic on our list, which is our next Game Club for February.
Yeah, and speaking of time, this is going to take a long time to play.
Yes, indeed it is, because our game is Xenonauts. Last year we had a theme for February to do like a love story or some kind of romance. So we picked, If My Heart Had Wings. But after coming off of The Wolf Among Us, both of us were kind of like, maybe something that's a little less story-focused. And while we've talked about Xenonauts each individually during the games that we've played section, Game Club is always a lot more in-depth. And
this would be a lot more mechanics-focused.
Plus, we're going to get a lot farther in the game than both of us have gotten so far. At least I assume we will.
In theory.
We really get screwed over. So, Xenonauts.
Yeah,
I know some of you guys have it.
Yeah, and I've hated it off to at least one listener.
Yep.
I mean, hell, I've bought this game 3 times now. That should say something.
Yep. Look forward to doing this one. Could always use an excuse to play more Xenonauts. But, yeah. Do you want to cut
should we just
Game Club?
Let's cut cut Game Club.
Or sorry, not Game Club.
I think you're a little late with that one, champ.
I meant Discovery Queue. Do you want to cut Discovery Queue?
Let's cut Community Corner since we only had a couple tweets, and we'll roll those into next week.
Okie dokie. Then let's go do a quick Discovery Queue
and hit the music
theme song.
And what the hell did I get immediately? I got a JRPG that looks interesting, but it has some severely mixed reviews, so that's always fun. And let me scroll down to the Discovery Queue, which is not cleared out.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Well, to be fair, you left it because, I have to take note of those. The Lost Spear. Or is it Lost Sphere?
Lost Sphere.
Interesting looking. It has a very, I would say, I'm not even sure when to put this time-wise, console generations, because first thought was, a PlayStation era, but it looks too clean for that, so PlayStation 2 era?
Yeah, PS2, or maybe like GameCube. What was the...
Yeah, GameCube would probably be a better option for this.
Yeah, I think this looks like a couple of the JRPGs that came to GameCube back in the day.
Now, the question is, why does this have bad results? It looks like it has a weak story. Or in some technical issues, which may be a problem. But it is also a full-price game, so I would say probably wait on this if you're interested in it. It does look very old-school JRPG, though. Especially that world map.
Ooh, what is this? Oh, horror. Shit.
What the fuck?
Well, I was really intrigued up until it said horror.
Okay.
So I'll put it on the list.
I got one that looks actually somewhat interesting. Gridded. This one is also mixed.
Okay.
And I like more the theme of this than anything else. Alright? But go ahead and talk about yours first.
Scavenger SV4. It's a atmospheric first-person sci-fi adventure game, it looks like. It says it's got some simulation elements and some roguelite elements. But then it says, with a dash of horror. So I'm all aboard for the sci-fi and the
but not the
realism,
Oogie Boogie?
But not the Oogie Boogie, yeah. I don't like that.
Okay, mine is... do you have anything else?
No, I was just going to say, but I mean, it had me up until then, so put it on the list.
Yeah,
someone does like that combination.
Mine's an early access title called Hobo Tough Life. It's a city survival RPG, which sounds really interesting, actually. It has some very mixed results, though, or mixed reviews, but that is a very interesting theme.
Huh. This plays a homeless person. Interesting.
See why I was like, ooh.
That's an interesting idea. I wonder if the mixed reviews are for the concept or if the game is bad.
Yeah, it looks like it's a bit rough right now, but it is also early access. It's tough to say about this. It's going to be one to keep an eye on, I think. But I like the concept of it. It looks like, I want to say Russian city, based on some of the language.
Right. Well, speaking of Russian, here's one that you're going to like. Russian Fishing 4.
I was about to say, what, are you going to be sarcastic with this?
This is an open world fishing game.
Hey, don't you mock my fishing.
It says there's no story. The whole point is to just go fishing wherever you want, and that it has RPG elements.
I'm getting a hell of a lot of mixed review games this time around. That looks interesting.
I like the idea of this, though. Russian RPG Fisher. I'll put that on my list.
What are we... how much is it?
It's not out yet. It says it releases in May.
Yeah, I'm just reading this. I'm not sure how to pronounce this, so I'm going to leave this to you to pronounce.
Okay, let me go back over the page. Waiting for you to... Oh! Is that French? Ale est.
I think it's Latin. Because it's the translation is the die is cast. Sorry. Let me reload the page so I get the URL. It looks like essentially a knockoff of Crusader Kings, almost. Is what Caesar said as he passed the Rubicon River when he learned that the Senate had removed him from his command. Essentially, it looks like a forex strategy. Would that be the proper term? Grand strategy?
Yeah, grand strategy, I think.
But you can see why I was drawing parallels with Crusader Kings. Or maybe Hearts of Iron, but Crusader Kings looks to be the closer analogy here. It looks very rough though.
Yeah. I am through my discovery queue. I only got 2 this time.
Well,
not a lot of stuff that was just like garbage. I just got a lot of stuff that doesn't interest me.
I'm getting a lot of garbage. And, I'm pretty sure this game is from like 1980.
What game is it?
I just clicked past it because it looked like it wouldn't run on a modern system.
Oh, okay.
Another mixed game. Quick scroll down. Oh, yeah. I'll throw it on the list anyway because we haven't really had a good one in this genre. But it's probably going to be a not buy. But yeah, it's more of a please somebody do a good game of this. Stellar Hub. It's a space station management game / building game.
I've seen this before.
Yeah, we've seen a few of these actually, but none of them's really done that well. I mean, we've had space-based DF9, which Telltale fucking squandered. Stable Orbit has been pretty much pushed out, but never really had that much content. But it's also more realistic. This looks more, why is this relevant to you? RimWorld. It looks RimWorld tower defense-ish. It looks interesting, but it's also very rough looking.
Yeah.
I would love to have a good space station builder, something like Startopia. Even though that's not even a good example. Because that's more of just a town builder, but you're in a station.
Yeah.
What is that? Okay, well, how about one that's mostly positive? And it's probably going to be very make you very enthusiastic.
As Azulgur Star Commanders.
Some sort of Azulgur Star Commanders is a sci-fi action-oriented sandbox role-playing game with FPS elements that puts you in command of a spaceship, space station, and a fleet with a massive sandbox universe. Sold?
Yep. This is already on my wish list. I didn't recognize the name, but as soon as I saw I didn't
scroll down far enough.
the picture.
But,
I was like, oh, I recognize
yeah, this
it.
is an early access title. Well, maybe that's what I was looking for. Looks like it's rated very positively, but there's a lot of negative reviews as well. Basically saying, absolute mess. Start the single player mission only to log on destroyed by yourself with no context menu. So, but early access, so some sort of beat 'em up fighting game. We'll skip that, but it has a lot of anime tits. I'm getting a lot of very retro games as well. I'm blaming you for this. I mean, retro is in, old game, not, retro styled. I'm just clicking through now. Oh, that is rough looking. I mean, rough for even early access. We'll skip that, even though you want it.
What is it?
The Warhorn? It's some sort of open world survival puzzle thing.
Oh, yep. That's definitely why I want it. Open world survival puzzler.
Well, it's on your
go for
wish
that
list,
sort of
so.
thing. Yeah.
Can't tell if sarcastic or not. And yeah, I'm done.
Sweet. Well, there we go. There's our discovery queue.
Yeah, I got a lot that either looked interesting or I liked the theme. I mean, Hobo Tough Life, I would love to see a really good game with that theme, because that is actually a very interesting topic that could be explored in a game.
Yeah, I agree. But that is our discovery queue, which takes us to the part of the podcast where I go first during the wrapping up stages. What's coming out on my stuff, and where can you find my stuff? Well, you can find me on the YouTubes by searching for Gaming Psychologist. There this week, technically, I guess last week by the time this releases. No, it'll be on Sunday. So, yeah, same week. I dumped the entire 5-episode playthrough of Wolf Among Us onto my channel so that people could go watch it if they don't have the game but still want to participate in Gameclub, which, just a reminder, we will address any letters that come in next week regarding Wolf Among Us, just because of how we wound up recording this time. So you can still go watch that series if you don't own it, and you can send in a letter based on what you've seen. Obviously, some things will be different because you can't make any of the choices yourself, but you can still get an idea of the story and the characters.
Or they could go back in time and put a shotgun to your back.
They could do that.
But then we would
Also-
already know about that. Or would we?
Yes.
And
Also, there continue to be the Kerbalcast archive episodes going up on my channel. One here, 2 there, that sort of
are
thing.
people still trying to figure out what happened to Biff?
No one's asking any more questions, but they're starting to get views, particularly the early episodes. I don't know if they just listened to the first couple and then haven't come back or what, but
Oh, to
the
be
first
fair,
episode
Biff was an acquired taste.
the first episode had like 20-something views the other day, or listens, I guess. There's not really much to watch. It's a static background image, and the next few have several as well, but it drops off when you get into the teens. But anyways, there's continue to be a smattering of those coming out. 1 here, 1 there, 2 there. I do them in batches and then just put them up. I am working on my Elite Dangerous tutorial series, but I had to put that on hold this weekend just to go through and do Wolf Among Us. So that probably won't be anything new coming out there this week, but that's still in the works. And other than that, I don't have anything else on the docket right now. If we get a chance to record Divinity this week, maybe, but that doesn't seem likely because of what we're going to have to do Tuesday night, which I won't talk about here, but it's
meetings.
planning for a future episode. Yeah, we got to have
Corporate
a business
stuff.
meeting. So yeah, once again, you can find me by searching for Gaming Psychologist on the YouTubes. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where I tweet about all kinds of random things, some politics, some not. Lots of times, I bitch about my internet service provider.
Hey, but to be fair, you
see-
could bitch about mine.
I could. You could go see all of those things and interact with me on Twitter at JMA4707. If you want to watch me stream games on Twitch, which streams are back, they are at least currently going to be every Thursday evening starting at 9 o'clock. I still haven't put together a stream schedule, but I intend on doing that this week, even though this episode will come out after we stream. I intend on streaming The Ship this coming Thursday. And you can find all of that over at twitch.tv/jarthur4707.
Also, if you want to be my friend on Steam, I accept all friend requests and love to talk to listeners of the show. My Steam username is jarthur4707.
And if you wish to let them know exactly what episode of the podcast you're coming from, the password for this week is Huff and Puff.
Perfect.
Yeah, I couldn't help myself there.
Fair enough. So what about you, buddy? What have you got going on? Where can the good people find you?
Well, over on Game with Caffeine Rage, I still have only 2 series running right now. I've got Civ 5 recorded for the week, and it's going to be posted on schedule. And yeah, it's my Inca playthrough. It's been an interesting run so far. I've run into some people that have thrown a wrench into my plans, particularly Venice. Because my plans originally were my original plan was either domination or science victory. Well, turns out that the area I'm settled in has little iron, so early game army is going to be hampered severely. So, okay, science and baby diplomacy. Well, then Venice shows up on the scene, and Venice knocks diplomacy down a couple notches. It doesn't make it impossible, but Venice's unique thing is that they don't settle new cities. They only have the one that they have direct control over. Everything else is puppeted cities that they buy out city-states, which is also used in the diplomacy win condition. Granted, it doesn't make it impossible to win diplomacy, but it does make it tougher. Because usually, if you're doing diplomacy, you could build up a city-state rep and, buy your way into friendship with different city-states and work up to the point where you have enough delegates to basically be elected leader of the free world. Well, turns out, can't do that. And we don't have the electoral college here, so can't do, I lost the popular vote, but I won anyway.
I see what you did.
So I'm still falling back on my science victory, which is going to be tougher because it requires me to build up very large cities, and I can only do so many cities with my current build. So it's going to be fun. Hopefully. Or at least you'll see me struggle and, fail miserably and probably get nuked by Gandhi because I still have a few civilizations I haven't encountered yet. Speaking of getting nuked, RimWorld's still ongoing. The town of Netherwallop. No chuckle? Okay.
Yeah.
Here, I'll replay it out.
Off, I guess.
Oh, I'm going to have to get a better name. I guess we're going to have to go to Superior Bottom. But Netherwallop's still doing all right. It's... I had to do some early trading to get guns because, guns are important. And because I'm not running Combat Extended, I'm not as pressured to do early research. So I'm able to build at a more leisurely pace, which is nice. Granted, with Combat Extended, which adds ammo and more deadly guns, I could support myself on trade, but then it's, buying bullets and guns. You can see how this could be a bit of a problem in the early game. Because, guns are expensive, and ammo gets expensive whenever you're buying several hundred rounds. And usually whenever you're just buying a bunch of guns, you're ending up with guns with different types of ammos. So there's no single stock. Yeah, it turns out, no standardization. That kind of sucks. But I am toying around with the idea, instead of going back to the original 4 episodes a week, just doing a slightly longer episode and do a more edited episode. But that requires more effort. I'm still doing single episodes, single episode releases, so 2 episodes a week, which is a more sane schedule. Granted, I did find how to do batch renders in Sony Vegas. Well, I should say Vegas 14, so since I did upgrade there. So, who knows, maybe it'll be more worthwhile, but it takes a lot more recording time, and of course a lot more render time. But you can find that over on Game with Caffeine Rage. Divinity's still offline, and I wasn't able to do a Sunday sampler because, I had to play The Wolf Among Us. And since we moved that up, I couldn't fit both that and whatever I could have found to play this week in. So I had to make choices.
Indeed. Just like in The Wolf Among Us.
Yeah, turns out I just sat here and smoked. Well, my huff and puffs. But you can also find me on Twitter, Gaming with CR, where I tweet about my Autobot, learning to play Hearts of Iron and be a little concerned about that. Yeah, I was getting the cards out of Hearts of Iron and saw the Autobot was playing that. And I'm like, that doesn't set up Skynet at all.
They're learning.
Well, before that, I was playing Crusader Kings. Definitely not a dangerous combination. Yeah, I did get the Humble Bundle with most of the Paradox games. I didn't get the third tier with Stellaris. But I'm thinking maybe Pillars of Eternity at some point. If I want to have like a 200 episode series. Because that would be fun.
It's exactly what you need.
Oh, well, to be fair, I'm not going to make any money on it anymore. Hey, but that's why...
YouTube sucks.
Yeah, that's why Rimworld is called Netherwallet, because I don't have to shy away from vaguely rude names anymore.
I never shied away from vaguely rude names.
Well, especially when you're tweeting the president.
Nope, I call him lots of bad names.
Which is always amusing. Granted, I wish you put a dot before that so it would end up in your feed and not just, have to go digging for you going on a rant. Period, space, president shithole.
I will try and remember that.
Actually, I did see one parody account that I think you would appreciate. President Jar Jar. And it's basically taking his tweet and running it through a Jar Jar translator.
Interesting.
Yeah. Turns out it makes it more intelligent. Anyway, we are off track. You can find me tweeting somewhat rude Rimworld names and teaching my bot to take over the world over at Gaming with CR on the Twitter. And since we're doing communication, if you have any feedback on The Wolf Among Us, want to tell us your war stories coming up in Xenonauts, your letters, your voicemails, gaming-related topics, questions, you send them vglpodcast@gmail.com or just tweet them vglpodcast, and we will get to tweets next week. We just need to get some more Discovery Queue. If you will still help pay for this absolute madness, you could do so over at patreon.com/vglpodcast. Our RSS feed is at vglpodcast.podbean.com, which is paid for by our lovely patrons. Or you can find us over on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever Jared shoved us. When he's not just in there smoking a cigarette. You do realize I can't hear you smoking.
I'm smoking. I was going to say I'm smoking right now.
See, I wish I was logged into Steam because I have the smoking emote.
Yeah. I do not. That's okay.
Yeah. Well, that stuff will kill you anyway. Our intro and outro music, which will not kill you, is On the Ground by Ken McLeod, and Doobly Doo is our Discovery Queue music by the same artist. You can find his work at incompetech.com, and...
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice, bye-bye now.
Sit here quietly smoking.